Testing, testing. All right, that's way better. Sorry about that. I had to unplug the cord earlier to handle some business with the printer, and I never plugged it back in. All right, we got people here, which is good. Just YouTube is so predictable. It's not even funny. All right. First off, let me say this. I enjoyed the halftime show. I'm not Caribbean, I'm not Puerto Rican, I'm not any of those things. But I just appreciated first of all, let me say this. I've never seen any halftime show that elaborate. That I was impressed. I was impressed. Especially when it first started. You had the young boy in the sugarcane fields, and I'm like, where is this? Where is this at? I said, are they doing this remote? Did they start in Puerto Rico? And now, hopefully, the show goes good. It's saying that it's poor. The video is poor. I don't know. It'll pick up. It'll get better. It'll get better. Hopefully. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, let me continue on. I did like the halftime show. I thought they started actually in Puerto Rico. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. They had me from Jump Street, right? I wanted to see where it goes. I don't know Bad Bunny's music. I'm not a fan that listens to Bad Bunny. I don't listen to his music, not because I don't know his music. I'm not really concerned about knowing his music. I don't know if I like him as an artist. You know, he does some things that's kind of trolly. The wearing of the dress. He's not transgender. So, you know, he's one of those that's going to do whatever he needs to do to get ahead. You know, I don't trust those type of people. I think, I think they will compromise their manhood. Me personally, I'm not saying he did this. These are the type of individuals that I think they will compromise their manhood so that they can get ahead in life. And I don't want to. I definitely don't want to teach younger people that that's how you get ahead in life, and you should think it's okay to compromise your principles or any. Disgusting. But anyway, I did. As the show went on, I enjoyed it more and more. I didn't understand one word he was saying, but I understood. I enjoyed the show more and more. Let me try to shut some things down because, hold on, this computer's bugging. And I want to have a good show, and I want to have a good conversation. And it's saying we have poor video quality. Give me 1 second, everybody. Let me just try to shut some things down. And hopefully that will work. Alright. I just closed 2. All right, hopefully that'll work. Let's see what happens. Let's bring the chat back over here because I can't even read that. Right. So let's just. All right. Peace to the gods and earth. First of all, let's peace to the gods and earth. We got Original Man. Original Man is in the building. We got This is not his first time here. I just call him Pritchett because I can't say his first name. And I don't want to say it wrong, but I think it's Diamond Pritchett. Let's just call him Pritchett for short right now. So we're going to say Mr. Pritchett is in the building. Um, yeah. So let's just continue on with the conversation. I see some trolls in the house, and that's okay. And we're gonna talk about trolls. We'll talk about Trump. Uh, the conversations I think they want us to have. To be honest with you, I think they want us to have a white supremacy conversation. Usually, I don't. I ignore it. I'm gonna be honest with you, and that's why I named the show to what I named it. Yeah, like, what will we discuss? Are we going to discuss Bad Bunny, or are we going to discuss something else? We're going to discuss both, to be honest with you. But you know, I'm constantly reminded. Everyone's not like you. Everyone's not like you, bro. They can't just. They want to indulge in this filth. And you know what? That's okay. You don't have to be as zoned in as me. I'm zoned in. I can ignore this all day long. Trust me, if I didn't have a YouTube account, this stuff would be like water on seal skin for me. I would look up and this would go on and I would just open up a book and read on something else as if this never happened. I don't care, because you know why? I know that's what they want me to do. They want me to have a full-fledged conversation about nonsense. The longer we can hold a conversation about nonsense, and imagine having literally 1,000 conversations about nothing. When I say nothing, it doesn't bring down the price of energy for anybody's house. You understand? It doesn't provide healthier food. We can't figure out how to stop the shadow government, if there is one, allegedly. We'll get to it. So I'm so zoned in on that type of stuff that I could be a bit much. I could be too serious for some people. I don't be caring. So therefore, I'm not fun around other people, which I don't really care, because I'm an introvert. I really don't want to be around anybody anyway. Y'all could be by myself all day long, all day night. I do not care. Trust me, I do not. I'm in my own world. You heard that song in the opening? I made that. I'm out here doing other stuff, bro. I could care less. Right? But no man is an island, and we could. I do like the thing. The other thing I do enjoy is talking to people, and you can't do that alone, right? You can't do that alone. No one knows why I talk to people. I'll talk to anybody. You understand? I'll entertain people that don't even like me a lot of times. I would just entertain them. I'm doing experiments on people while I'm talking to them. You understand? I'm just in my own. They don't even know they're part of the Truman Show. You're part of my show. I'm not part of your show. I'm just sitting there conversating. You're cussing me out, and I'm taking notes and loving it. This is all so that I can observe. It's all scientific. I want to observe your behavior. I want to see what makes you tick, right? Because that's what these other people are doing to you. So I might as well do the same thing to you. You understand? So I know. Look. It's crazy. I had no idea this was going to be so controversial. I wake up in the morning. My wife is drying her hair. She comes into the room. Mind you, it's not even 8 o'clock yet, right? It's early in the morning. She's pissed off. Why is she pissed off? Well, she was on a group chat with some friends and coworkers, and she found out the hard way that some of these people are racist. You understand? They said they would prefer Kid Rock over Bad Bunny. I'm sorry, unless somebody here today could tell me. Shout out to Winters in the building. She said didn't watch the replay just because you were going to be talking about it. Yeah, it's not my. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. And like I said before you got here, Winter, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I don't know what he was talking about, but what I did enjoy, he had like a little bodega. You understand? That was the New York part of it. But yo, it was dope to me. It's like going to an opera. When you go to the opera, do you understand what they're saying? You don't. You really have to look up the story and find someone has to tell you what they're singing about. But you feel sophisticated. Why? Because you're at an opera. Is it your culture? It is not your culture. It is not your culture. most of the times, unless you are some type of Spaniard, European, or something like that. I don't know the history of opera. I know it's not Nubian. It's not Ethiopian. But if you see me at the opera, you presume that I'm a distinguished gentleman. I don't like this, right? You see me eating caviar, you assume I'm a worldly man that knows food and fashion. Why? Because I'm eating fish eggs? Escargot. These things are disgusting to me. I don't want to try them. Call me ignorant. I don't want your fish eggs or your snails. I'm good, beloved. Right? But we're told that this is true. This is part of sophistication, huh? Aristocracy. I appreciated someone else's culture the same way I appreciate music. Oh, pirates, yes, the robber. Am I Jamaican? No, but I can appreciate the artwork from somebody from another country. And not just Caribbean countries. I appreciate many Caucasian contributions to to civilization. But it is something that the white media, I'm not ready to say white people, because I don't know all white people and I don't know how they all feel. I don't even know if that's the majority. It feels like the majority. Why? It feels like the majority because it's on the media. So it makes you think, oh, this is how all white people feel. That's not how all white people feel. Just like all black people was not down with Black Lives Matter, right? I was not down with Black Lives Matter. All black people are not down with Black Lives Matter. So all white people don't have to feel the way President Trump felt. Let's see how President Trump felt. He was kind of pissed off. Oh, he was pissed off, President Trump, huh? President Trump was pissed off. It says Trump calls Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show a slap in the face to our country. I thought Puerto Rico was a part of our country. Can you double check me on that, Winter? Can we Winter, if you're still here, can you just make sure I'm not up here pushing out malinformation or misinformation? Huh? I don't got a doctorate or nothing like that. It says President Trump criticized Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show, calling it absolutely terrible. One of the worst ever. Really? I disagree. I thought it was better than Missy Elliott. And most on social media on Sunday. Trump called the show a slap in the face to our country, saying there is nothing inspirational about this mess of a halftime show. Look at him. That's your boy right there. Trump, you're just getting old and grumpy, bro. You're getting old, grumpy, and you're just saying what's on your mind now. He says, it makes no sense, is an affront to the greatness of America, and doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence. I thought it was super creative. Am I the only one? Am I bugging? Does anybody else thought of the country's heritage is English, yet we celebrated Latin culture? I don't know if we celebrated. Observer 411, we didn't celebrate. We watched the Super Bowl. Right? Now, if Bad Bunny was performing on 4th of July, Right? And by the way, I think everyone is a mutt here. Everyone is a mutt. Everyone is a mutt here. The English came in. Let me see what you wrote there. The country's heritage is English. No, it's not. This is a stolen land. This is stolen land. No matter how you want to avoid that, the Englishman was a murderer, and he came here and he did what he did because he is, in fact, a murderer. To this day. It hasn't stopped. It's in his blood. And that's okay, as long as you know who you're dealing with. Biggie said, people bleed just like us. Right? So what everyone else has to understand is you got to die for something. Bloodshed you have to bleed in order for things to change. You got to be ready to do that. You got to be ready for lights out. That's how Haiti got its independence. It wasn't about talking or marching or none of that. Haiti drive them right up out of there. Get up out of here. But there was a lot of Haitians that died. You got to understand that. Right? So let's not change the conversation. And it's not like the Englishman came over here and built it himself either. He murdered for it because he had gunpowder and he had gun technology. Lucky him that the indigenous didn't have the guns before. As soon as he stepped off the boat, right, one in the forehead. There you go, take that, get out of here, beat it. They told me you was coming. They lucky that the Africans that was already coming over here didn't bring gunpowder and all that other stuff. Gunpowder been in existence since Egypt. They used to use it for the celebrations and stuff like that. The narrative that America is a white country, like it was made by white people, you white people start that conversation. Nobody else is ready to have a false, stupid conversation like that. Only you, to this day, it's just white people that want to say, yo, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Right? Critical race theory. I do want to talk about it. We don't have to be racist to talk about what happened. Whatever happened, we wasn't even involved. Me and you wasn't even born yet. Whatever happened, me and you wasn't even born yet. Let's have a conversation about it. The real conversation is, this is not, you didn't find this land. People have been coming here way before you. You colonized it. You murdered for it. Right? Now you're offended that other people, nobody here is just one people. Everybody is mutts here. Everybody is an immigrant, one way or the other. There's like 13 indigenous people left. And half of them are drunks. You got white people saying they're Native Americans so that they can own reservations. When does it stop? Then when someone calls you out, you say it's racist or it's a racial tone. No, nothing is racist. Here, dig it. What it is reality. I can't even say it's sad because I can't say another race wouldn't have done the same thing. The black man didn't do it, but the black man didn't have gunpowder. Black man been coming to the North Americas and to the Caribbean. He been doing that. The Nubian been coming over here. But there's no stories of him just trying to bring the rest of Africa over here to kill off the Paleo-Siberians that was already here. There's no evidence of that. It was only the paleface who came over here and started wilding out, bringing your Satanistic ways, the all type of stuff that nobody else would think of. And you did not do the work yourself. When you first got here, it wasn't even about black slavery. It was about slavery still. You really you wanted more people to come over. Like, did we forget that? It wasn't even about slavery yet. It was just like, nah, like, come on, everybody come over to this new land. They couldn't get enough people to come over. Couldn't get enough people to build it up. They had to think of new ways to do it. See, I like to start there. A lot of people, I don't know why people start America in 1776. That's absolutely asinine. I do like, and President Trump hates the 1619 narrative. But then again, he is delusional. What they did was, and by they I mean Trump and Turning Point. Let's talk about Turning Point USA, because that was kind of wild, right? He says, it makes no sense. It's an affront to the greatness of America and doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence. Nobody understands the word this guy is saying. Bro, a lot of times when you go to the opera, no one understands a word anyone is saying there. But you think it is elegance, sophistication to listen to these, quite frankly, these notes that would bore me. I'm bored. But it's the opera. And the dancing is disgusting. Wow, bro. Are you not in the Epstein files for throwing $300 at a... Allegedly. Is this man not... Can someone fact check if this man is in the Epstein files throwing $300? Allegedly. We don't know if she's telling the truth, and we don't know if he's telling the truth. Throwing $300 at somebody after she asked him, please use a condom. The report says, the files say, the female was then struck and said he'll do what the F he wants to do. He finished off, and he said threw $300 at the girl and said, go get an abortion. And you want to talk about dancing that is disgusting? Are you sure you want to have that type of conversation? Hold on. He said, especially for young children. Bro, why is this quote by Trump? It says, nobody understands a word this guy is saying, and the dancing is disgusting, especially for young children that are watching from throughout the USA. You are in no position to talk about anybody that's young or children. You are in no position. Whether you did it or not, you are your reputation is tarnished. Why? Because mainly because we feel that you lied. We feel that you lied about someone that was connected to PDF and your affiliation with them. Why would you lie? Why would you just not tell the truth? Right? Then you're all through these same files. And now you're preaching about someone that's entertaining. That's entertaining. That's entertainment. That's not real. That's just entertainment. What's real was Dan Bongino wanting to quit once he really read what was in the files. That's real. That's real. He didn't even know how to react. He just said, I want to leave. I want to go. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Please, God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far away. Please, God, turn me into a bird so that I can fly far, far away. Nope. So, what Turning Point did, Turning Point USA, this is what they want us to do, right? They want us to, this is what they want us to do. They want us to flip on each other. Let me tell you something. I'm not flipping on all white people. You're not going to get me up here talking about all white people, this, that, and the third. Right? I'm just talking about whoever did is okay with what's going on with the other side who call themselves conservative. I'm sorry. Endorsing PDF business is not my type of conservativeness. Endorsing PDF business is not my type of conservativeness. Kid Rock headlines TP USA counter program Super Bowl halftime. I get it, Trump. You don't like Spanish people. You want them out of here. I get it. Kid Rock headlined a counter program halftime show dubbed the All-American Halftime Show. Kid Rock. How do I take that? I take it as, okay, Kid Rock is white, for sure. Did that have anything to do with it? Who are we kidding? Who are we kidding, right? He was a rock and roller. He's a rock and roller. I may know one Kid Rock song. One. Right? He's not my type of vibe. If you play it, I might know it. Huh? I'm more of a REM type of guy. The Cranberries, huh? Oasis. Green Day. Shout out to Green Day. They opened up. A few others. Soundgarden. Huh? Black hole sun, won't you come? Wipe away the rain. Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Coldplay. Kid Rock, not as much. Kid Rock always seemed like the evil villain to hip. I don't know what it was. It was like he was like a hip hop jacket turned inside out. I wasn't digging it. But that's who. That's what Turning Point USA. They said we're gonna do our own thing. We'll do our own thing. Kid Rock headline counter program halftime dubbed the All-American Halftime Show, run by conservative advocacy group Turning Point USA. At the same time, Bad Bunny took the Apple Music Super Bowl halftime show. So clearly, this was orchestrated, and this is what I want everyone to think about that does come over and listen to my show, subscribe to my show, whatever, right? You have to critically think. Right? It's always going to be something where they want these people to go against these people. Why they do this. And what is this? We'll talk about this in a second. Right? That's the second part of my show. What are they doing while we're beefing with each other about nothing? That's the second part of my show. The first part, let's just knock this out the way. So you purposely and tactfully and skillfully and systematically organize this thing so that you can go. You knew Bad Bunny was performing and you wanted to have something for another demographic of people, whoever they may be, and then you called it conservative, all-American. You called it the All-American the All-American. Was there any other races there? Because again, I don't remember the white man doing nothing by himself to build up America. That's the truth. It's not the hard truth. It's just the truth. It's neither hard or soft. He's done nothing by himself. This land is made up of many different national IDs, or the origins anyway. So did you represent anybody else? I don't know why the white man acts like they want everybody going, right? Now, if everybody left, I don't think they're going to be happy. If everybody said they were going to leave, they would try to find a way to keep some people here. Why? I don't want to do this type of shit. Shit got to get done, but I don't want to do it. Huh? But you got robots now, so maybe you'll be okay. Along with Kid Rock, the one-of-a-kind streaming event featured performance from Bottoms Up singer Brantley Gilbert, I Drive Your Truck, Lee Brice, and Gabby Barrett. Are these multinational people? Are these different ethnics? Or if I look these people up, are they all Caucasian? I'm not going to take the time to listen up. It's really a rhetorical question. You guys will know, right? But this is the ABC News that's telling me, no, they had other singers there. Was these all Caucasian people? So maybe that's what he means by all American? Turning Point USA's YouTube stream of the show peaked at just over 6 million concurrent viewers. They did not want to see Bad Bunny. I don't like Bad Bunny for different reasons. Not because he's Puerto Rican. Or not because I don't know his music. I don't know your music. I'm not trying to find out your music and nothing. I'm good, right? You got other stuff going on that I don't really like what you got going on. But that wasn't enough to drive me to be like, oh, I'm protesting against this, because I'm not protesting against you because you Puerto Rican or your skin. That's a different level of hate, right? But you could say, yo, I just didn't know what the guy's talking about. Anyway, I enjoyed his halftime show. But they said all American, right? Then people started looking into this guy's lyrics, Kid Rock. Again, I don't really know his music like that. I never really cared for Kid Rock. Even some of the Red Hot Chili Peppers songs used to come on back in the days. I could rock with those, but I never really cared for Kid Rock anyway. But they bring up some of your lyrics, bro, and your lyrics are hardcore. PDF. Let's just say that, right? So it says, what are the lyrics to Cool Daddy Cool? See me cruising in my caddy. Hoes, they be like to call me daddy. Cool when I'm styling, just rolling on my island. What? Do you think now's the time to book Kid Rock? The first verse reads, just in case I pack heat, keep a case of brew in my back seat. Got a pocket full of cash. Hey, got a fatty in my ashtray. Like I said, he reminded me of hip-hop turned inside out. The song continues, macking to this fat beat, bass pushing through my back seat. You know I got that gangster lean. Hoes, they all adore me. I stop and they all swarm me to check out all my fly gold rings. They treat me like mayor cause I'm the biggest player from the Himalayas. Later in the song, Rock proclaims that he likes underage women. Trump, let me help you help yourself. Knock it off. You can't stop. Just because, I think it's because he knows, he can't run again, right? He can't run for president again. So now he's just out here tripping and wilding. Bro, you are being you're not going to go down as the worst president in history. I don't think you are. But you definitely go down as one that we see as a stool pigeon for the Zionists. You are a stool pigeon for the Zionists, right? I don't know what they have on you, but I do believe they have a control file on Trump. That's it looks like that's evident at this point. And I don't know that, but it looks like that's evident. He's just doing real weird things. So you have not made America great again. You have not even tried to make America great again. Your name came out in the files after you tried your hardest to just avoid. I watched so many press conferences where you're like, are we still talking about this? Yeah, bro. We still talking about that. We are definitely still talking about that, right? And it wasn't until you couldn't do nothing else where you said, just release the files. Then you tried to release so many files, and y'all even tried to delete some. After you released it, tried to delete it. No. They want to know where. They want all the files, bro. So you say, yo, give them 300. Give them 3 million files. They'll never find it. Oh, no, they got time today. They're going to find everything they're looking for. And they found you littered all through the Epstein files. Looking like a pedo. Looking like a bad pedo. Bad Bunny has war address. Bad Bunny has done some things that I don't agree with as a heterosexual man who's married to a black woman. I don't want. What are you doing? Wearing a dress, bro? I'm conservative. I don't want to see none of that. Right? So I wasn't really gonna. It wasn't like I wasn't breaking my neck to see the halftime show. But I'm sitting there with my family. They want to see the halftime show. I'm an adult. I'm mature. Okay, let's watch it. Right? I don't need to turn to something else. No, let's watch it. Let's see what's going on. And I was actually impressed at the design, the choreography. I was impressed. So while you guys are over there at Turning Point USA, who are obviously delusional, right? You guys are delusional if you don't want to talk about the Romanian nonprofit that Erica Kirk was associated with, right? And pretend like you can't see any indications or signs of trafficking. You can't see at all. Well, if you can't see that, I quite personally, I don't even want to have a conversation with you because it doesn't make sense. You're just blind. Like Flavor Flav said, you're blind to the facts. You can't see what I can see. You're blind, baby. You're blind to the facts. Now, let me see if you can see this or hear this. Kid Rock, the song, the lyrics go. Now, some people say my mind's blown. I'm cooling like a snow cone on my cell phone. I'm paid, G. Can't call me. Just page me. Young ladies, I like 'em underage. That is you, Kid Rock. Young ladies, I like 'em underage. Let me tell you where I'm from. You have to distance yourself from pedophiles. You have to. Where I'm from, you have to. Once that's on their jacket, unless they get that cleaned up, right? Now, where I'm from, you're supposed to distance yourself from rats, but they don't always distance themselves from rats. I know a number of people who've told on people and they still around them. So a rat is not necessarily the lowest thing. That's not the lowest thing in the ghetto. It seems like it's the lowest thing, but people come back from telling all the time truthfully. I'm just keeping it real with you. They talk all this, yo, I don't rock with son. He's a rat and this snitch. And no. There's still And nobody's around. He's still giving son a dap. Yo, what's good? Having a little 5-minute conversation. And if somebody else, if everybody else starts to hang with him, then everyone's gonna act like he never ratted, and that's fine. I don't care. I didn't do any crimes with that guy. Whoever you're talking about ratted, I assure you, I did not do any crimes with him. I'm good. I don't care. Whatever. Let him. Whatever. Doesn't affect me, right? A PD is something different. Right? Because that guy that did crime, he can never do crime again. Just don't show him to the plug. Just don't do no more crime with this dude. Let him do his 9-to-5 thing, and that's it. But this guy, you don't know if that's out of his system, bro. You don't know if that's out of his system, and what made him do that in the first place. You understand? What made him do that in the first place? Turning Point USA, I don't know why you're endorsing a PDF just because. What was the other option? Yo, there's a Spanish guy that's coming on. I don't like him, right? He doesn't speak. I don't know a word he's saying. Yo, let's go get the PDF guy. What? That's all American right there. It's a Super Bowl. I'm going to keep it real. Maybe I'm more nonchalant because I don't even watch football. I barely watch sports. I don't have the capacity to be distracted like that, right? You're not going to use sports to distract me. None of these things. But you've been doing that for so long, right? You've been using the Coliseum and the gladiators to distract the people. Anytime tensions get too high, what do? You just throw a big event at the Coliseum, right? You get over here to America, let's have 4 or 5 Coliseums every year. Let's have the basketball championships. Let's have the NFL Super Bowl. Let's have the baseball World Series. Let's have the hockey Stanley Cup. It just don't stop. Let's have music. Let's have Grammy Awards. Let's have Oscar Awards. Let's have MTV Awards. This is all, in my opinion, to keep you mesmerized. There's no time for you to ever think about anything else. Anything else would be too serious. It would be too serious of a conversation. You don't see what's going on? We got all this other stuff to talk about. Jamel, why would you want to talk about mind control? Huh? You didn't see what Homeboy wore to the awards? Was that not crazy? You didn't hear what he said afterwards? They could never let the majority of the population truly know what's in the works. Right? Because, damn, I've done so many shows on the experimentations of the mind and behavioral engineering. So I know the realities. Of the possible things that can happen through the entrained mind. I know the realities. But like I said, those topics become too serious when you have 20 different light hearted subjects, things to talk about that the media keeps pushing in your face day in, day out. Then what they do is, every once in a while they may throw a serious conversation in. It seems serious enough. Somebody died, Jamel. That's serious. And we should protest about it. You're not even close to the real topics that should be talked about, right? You're not even close. You would get closer if you talked about universal basic income. I would say, okay, you're getting closer. Because that is going to be a thing that you probably should be worried about, because so many jobs are going to be automated and just phased out of civilization. They've already started. Do you know anybody that collects tolls anymore? When you drive from one state to the other, how many people do you see there collecting money, cash money? Right? You walk into the Walmart now, there's way more lines or way more traffic for the checkout for yourself now, right? Yeah, they still got some people there. They don't want to make it totally weird. We'll keep some people here for now. You ever go to the airport and there's nobody in the store? You know how they have those little stores in the airport and you walk down? You ever walk into one of those and there's nobody around and you're like, where is the cashier? Nah, bro. Play stupid games and you're going to win a stupid prize. Go ahead. Think you're going to steal a Snapple and see what happens. Right? Either you won't make that flight, or as soon as you get off at the next place, they will have you detained for stealing a $5 water. Go ahead. But that's where we're headed. We're headed to a surveillance, strong society. But if they was to, it's not like they're going to educate you on that, right? The one time they did try to educate you, people caught on so fast. Remember when Moderna was like, yo, this is like, Moderna was excited. It was like, yo, this is an operating system. We trying to put it in your body. Everybody was like, an operating system? People went to studying stuff. You had all type of doctors on the podcast and the YouTube telling exactly what it is. Them people went missing. So now, in my opinion, what I think they've done is the think tanks have turned up the velocity of distraction. So it's just like, it's buzzing. You can hear it buzzing, the white noise, the distractions. But I'm not distracted over here. This channel is called Society Past, Present, and Future. I'm not distracted. Society, Past, Present, and Future. This is a sociology channel. I'm just doing what I love to do. And there's topics I come across that truly do make me curious, right? I'm attracted to these type of topics. And I ran across a topic called the Blue Brain Project. I said, what is that? I've studied a couple of things. What are you talking about? Hold on. Let me see if I could. Give me a second. Here we go. The Blue Brain Project. Let me copy that. Bring that over here. And I'll put that up on the screen and you can take a look at this yourself. Blue Brain Project. The Blue Brain Project was a Swiss national research infrastructure project that ran from 2005 to the end of 2004, led by founder and director Professor Henry Markram. Blue Brain established a simulation neuroscience as a complementary approach to understanding the brain alongside experimental, theoretical, and clinical neuroscience. We're going to get into this topic. Because, like I said, I truly believe that they're trying to play you, right? They don't want anyone up here with a talking serious. If you notice, all of YouTube has been compromised. And no one knows how to make money off of serious conversations like that. Unless you had a lot of followers, right? So Tucker Carlson could afford to do that. If you were sort of a big deal before the censorship agenda was kicked off, you're going to be okay. But how many of those people exist? You had, what's the guy from Australia? The skinny chap. Somebody tell me who I'm talking about. Guy from Australia. He was doing good. But then he started reporting that his life was getting dismantled piece by piece. And I said, dang, bro. You had to know they were coming. You had to know they was coming, right? I want to play something for you. This is one of my videos. Before we get into the topic of Blue Brain Project, let's just check this out.
When thoughts became data, the men who opened the human mind. The idea that human thoughts could be measured, recorded, or interpreted as data did not begin with Silicon Valley, artificial intelligence, or modern neuroscience startups. It began over a century ago, at a moment when scientists first dared to ask a question that quietly dismantled the boundary between the soul and the machine. What if the mind is not mystical, but electrical? Once that question was asked seriously, the future we are now living in became unavoidable. The first person to cross that line was Hans Berger, a German psychiatrist working in the aftermath of World War I. In 1924, Berger successfully recorded the first electroencephalogram, the first time in history that electrical activity from a living human brain was captured and visualized as data. This moment is often framed as a medical breakthrough, but Berger's motivations were far more unconventional. He was deeply interested in telepathy and believed that the brain emitted energy capable of transmitting thoughts beyond the body. In other words, the original purpose of EEG technology was not simply diagnosis, it was an attempt to detect and understand mind-to-mind communication. Berger was ridiculed by the scientific establishment of his time, yet governments and military researchers quietly recognized the implications. If thoughts produce measurable signals, then thoughts can be monitored. That theoretical shift became physical reality through the work of Wilder Penfield, a pioneering neurosurgeon operating primarily in the 1930s through the 1950s. Penfield conducted open-brain surgeries on conscious patients suffering from epilepsy. By electrically stimulating specific regions of the exposed brain, he discovered that he could trigger vivid memories, emotional responses, involuntary movements, and even the sensation of hearing voices. Patients would suddenly relive childhood scenes or experience intense emotions without any conscious intent. Penfield did not interpret this as mind control, but his work proved something far more profound. Memory, emotion, and decision-making were not abstract concepts. They were localized, physical processes that could be externally activated. For the first time, the human mind was mapped not philosophically, but mechanically. What Penfield demonstrated cautiously in the operating room was taken several steps further by José Delgado, a Yale-affiliated neuroscientist working during the height of the Cold War. In the 1950s and 1960s, Delgado developed a device he called the Stimoceiver, a wireless implant capable of both receiving brain signals and sending electrical stimulation directly into targeted brain regions.
Stop. In the 1950s? In the 1950s. Remember in Training Day, Ethan Hawke said, You've been planning this all day. Denzel said, son, I've been planning this all week. Huh? I'm just asking you to think critically about things. I'm asking you to take a full breath count and consider that you might be being played every time they pull these same shenanigans. I understand that all my audience is not from New York, right? But I've been all around the country. But I must say, the first time I was flim-flammed right there in the very city I was born, which is the Bronx, New York. Right on Fordham Road, my mother gave me some money to go school shopping. There's a place on Fordham Road called VIM. Do not ask me what it stands for. Everyone just knows. You go to VIM or you go to Dr. J's. This was when I was young. You understand? This is not now. You go to VIM, you go to Dr. J's. I wasn't too much up on Neiman Marcus and all these other places yet. I wish I would have been. Because if I was going to get robbed, at least Neiman Marcus would have just did it at the counter legally. But right outside of this store, this clothing store, you had this guy. He's out there with the 3 cards with some cardboard and everyone's around cheering on and looking on. Yo, what's going on? Right? He does it a couple of times. He loses a $20. He loses a $20 to his man. You like, oh, he's an idiot. I could definitely see where the card is at. You try to put your little money in. Yeah, that one drawing right there. Guess what? You're wrong. He told you to find the red card. You found the black card. You don't know how this is happening, why this is happening. Right? When you lost enough money, let me tell you what's going to happen. Because they may still be out there and you could save yourself $80 to $200. When they felt like they had got you enough, somebody yells, police! And everybody scatters. What you didn't know is that the people that was actually winning the money and betting, that was his cousin Jose. Huh? Everybody was in on it. Pito, Lulu, even the black guy. Yeah. That's James from apartment 5H. They knew each other since preschool. Everybody was in on it except who? Except you. Now, I could understand you wanting to get your get back and you go back out there with the toolie because that's the New York way. Yo, you suckers played me? Alright, say that. Bet. Catch any of y'all is slick. What I can't understand is you going back out there trying to find the card again. Right? You look at you. No, let's play one more time. What? Everybody's shocked. You want to play again? Yeah, I'm going to find it this time. That's what's happening. Everyone is involved. You're talking about, yo, the last administration was better. The next administration is, yo, they all together. They're all together playing us. The technology that is being brought to the table, that is being brought to the conversation right now is not even new. They had the technology in the 50s. Now, I taught for so long over here history. We went over World War II, right? The findings of the Nazis who had the technology. I tried to tell you where the Nazis got the technology, but you didn't believe me. You say you talk about fringe topics. So fine, I won't talk about those topics. But can you tell me where the Nazis got the technology from? You cannot. Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna wait for your answer. What am I asking you for? You don't know where the Nazis got the technology. What you do know is what you've been told, which is that the United States then took those Nazis and they offered them a land of milk and honey here in the United States. Did you stop to question? Did anybody stop to question why they're doing this? If the Nazis were doing such horrible things, why do they have better jobs and houses than you? Why they're winning Nobel Peace Prizes and what? No, you didn't, because you didn't want your situation, whatever situation that is, right? You work. I work so hard to keep my credit score nice, and I just want a white picket fence, a golden retriever, right? This is Edward Benet's business that they're selling you. The same way he told you what to eat for breakfast is the same thing. The same way he's telling you what is the American dream. Do you have your own American dream? Or did that come from Edward Benet's too? Right? So many people get married and tell me, yeah, I got divorced. My first wife was a bitch. You don't know how many times I hear this, right? But I already know what happened. I know people were trying to live up to the hype of the American dream. Right? Then they pulled an audible on you, right? So before, the man was able to go out because things were in the price range where the man, if he could get a job and keep a job and be consistent, then he could afford to take care of a wife and kids, and she could stay home. And man, they started to inflate that dollar. You see? Once they started to inflate the dollar, you can't do the same shit you did in the no matter how much they want to take. We say simple shit because we don't understand money. We don't understand economics. So there's no way that we could borrow that much money and then pump that much money back into our own system and think that money is just as valuable as it was before we started basically pulling Ponzi schemes on the American government or on the American country. So you don't have to try to make me feel bad about, oh yeah, well, I was able to do it. You did it, but when there wasn't this much inflation of the dollar, bro, when the dollar wasn't so weak and it just kept on, it never got better. They were actually trying to keep jobs here. They weren't. Globalization wasn't so high. It wasn't trying to offshore every little thing to get a better price. Where'd that get us? Let me tell you where it got us, because it hurt me personally. I'm going to tell you where it got us. It got people that are not citizens over here driving tractor trailers, given something called a domicile license that drove the price, the contract price on the load boards way down below. So you're still selling this American dream, and then when we get married and have kids and be fruitful and multiply, the platform is not there, it's not as sturdy as it once was. And then you say, well, it's kind of sturdy. Let's see what happens when we pull the rug from under his feet. So therefore, a contract that was $5 a mile per mile now goes down to $1.60 a mile. And you tell us hey, you just got to deal with it, right? But I'm no idiot. So what do? I got a backup plan. I actually have a master's degree in information technology. Actually, it's in information systems, but I did study It was going to be technology. Then I switched fourth quarter. Bah! Information systems. I like project management, right? And I said, I don't know what they doing in trucking, but I'm gonna do this thing over here as my backup. Guess what? America does. It says, not so fast, because we can actually get Ramesh from India to do it for way cheaper than you. And they come as a package deal. You understand? And they can work from India. They don't even need to come over here. But guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring them over here anyway for 6 months at a time. It was never one administration. All the administrations been giving it to us in the shaft. They've been giving it to us. So don't tell me who your favorite president is. I don't care. Going from Obama, you can obviously go from back to the Bushes, right? Because that was the first sign that, okay, things are getting crazy. When they decided not to listen to Congress, Congress is supposed to authorize certain things. Congress said, we're not going to authorize no type of funding of what you're doing overseas. Oh, word? Okay, we'll get the money somehow. And they started selling drugs. You can't even make this up, even though you wish it wasn't true. You wish, right? You had a puppet for President Ronald Reagan. He was an actor. There's no way in the world that an actor is going to have the same reputation as the former director of the CIA. Are you kidding me? It's not even close. And ever since then, it's been downhill. His protege, which was of a different he was of a different political party. George Bush's protege was not his son. George Bush Jr. George Bush's protege was actually Bill Clinton. And there was also evidence that Bill Clinton was helping him bring in, allegedly, what do I know except what I read and what I've been told by Bill Cooper, who's now dead. Bring in, from what I've read, Clinton was governor of Arkansas and allegedly might have assisted with bringing in cocaine into the Mena, Arkansas strip. One's a Republican, one's a Democrat. Either way, they've got both your balls in their palms, squeezing tight. Doesn't matter. Let's get back to the video. Hold on. I'm going to put the, I want to read the chat while we, what are we doing? Sorry. Here we go. If you get a chance while you come over here, hit the like button. I don't really care. I just say it. I don't care. Hit the like button. Whatever. All right, let's get back to the video.
Delgado implanted these devices in animals and humans alike. His most famous demonstration occurred in a bull ring, where he stopped a charging bull mid-attack by pressing a button that stimulated the animal's brain. The implication was unmistakable. Behavior could be altered remotely, without physical force, punishment, or consent in the moment. Delgado openly spoke of creating a psycho-civilized society, a phrase that sounded benevolent on the surface, but revealed a belief that human behavior should be regulated through neurological intervention. This was no longer about reading thoughts. It was about shaping them. Running parallel to these experiments was the theoretical framework that made them inevitable. Norbert Wiener, a mathematician and philosopher, introduced the field of cybernetics in the 1940s. Cybernetics proposed that humans and machines operate under the same principles of feedback, control, and communication. According to Wiener, the human brain could be understood as an information system. one that receives input,
Oh, hold on.
processes signals,
My
and
bad.
produces output.
There you go. There we go.
This idea dissolved the conceptual barrier between biological life and machines. If the brain was a system, then it could be modeled, optimized, corrected, or overridden. Wiener later expressed deep regret over how his work was weaponized, but by then the intellectual door had already been opened. By the mid-20th century, interest in brain signal research shifted decisively from medicine into military and intelligence domains. During the Cold War, the ability to reduce reaction time, suppress fear, enhance focus, and integrate humans directly with machines became strategic objectives. This intellectual lineage eventually flowed into classified programs and defense research pipelines involving organizations such as CIA and later defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, where the human brain was increasingly viewed as a performance bottleneck to be optimized rather than a private inner world to be protected. What modern audiences often miss is that today's brain-computer interfaces, EEG headsets, and neural monitoring technologies are not radical departures from the past. They are refinements of a century-old ambition to make the human mind legible, predictable, and governable. The language has softened: therapy, productivity, accessibility, wellness. But the core principle remains unchanged. The brain emits signals. Signals can be captured. Captured signals can be analyzed. Analyzed signals can be acted upon. The surreal part is not that technology can now read aspects of the human mind. The surreal part is that this possibility was pursued from the very beginning, long before the public was ever invited into the conversation, long before consent frameworks existed, long before the idea of mental privacy was even articulated. When people say, "You don't have to say anything, your brain already did," they are not describing a future scenario. They are describing the logical endpoint of a scientific journey that began the moment someone first decided to listen to the electrical whispers inside the human skull. By the late 1940s, the scientific question of whether the human brain could be measured had already been answered. The next question governments asked was far more consequential. What could be done with that knowledge?
Woo! Huh? It's never gonna stop. Now, do you think, seriously, they want you a part of this? Like, seriously, I need you to think about this. The 6 people that say, "Nah, I don't mind going over there, hearing what Saladin got to say." You don't do me no favors. Right? Most people that's on YouTube, they just want to gaslight you. Right? So they get you over here. Obviously, they're going to say, "Yo, try." That's what the algorithm was trying to figure out what I was going to do. So it started to send some people in, but they wanted me to gaslight that joint to the full effect. Yo, Trump is arranged. Nah. Then they would have got busy. Oh, he's over there. He's on one. Nah. We know who he is, right? I'm not gaslighting. I'm not about to call all white people racist. I'm not about to just crap on Puerto Ricans over a football game? Over a football game, bro? You think halftime is as American as apple pie? I don't even watch football. I do like apple pie. I taught you over here about think tanks, right? I taught you about the Rand Corp. Oh, I fully know why my channel is down. And I go so into depth into things, and there's other people out here, they talk on certain topics. Shout out to Kim Iverson. I love Kim Iverson. Sometimes I would think Kim Iverson watched my show, because I think a lot of people watch my show, because I'll talk on something and then the next thing they're talking about it. Shout out to Sabby Sab. I think Sabby Sab watches the show. She had a good show the other day when she talked about Jay-Z and how far he goes back with Weinstein. That was a good show, Sab. If you do watch and you hear this, that was a good show. But can we be honest? Nobody else is doing 5-hour lives like that and getting it. Nobody else on it. It's just my retarded ass. Right? I'm the only stupid ignoramus out here doing 5-hour lectures on this stuff. And they're never going to let that type of information. They're not going to blow my channel up. We're not going to help you. You could pay if you want to pay us to advertise us. But we're not going to just let the algorithm see that. We would prefer these people to be more ignorant to our methods. Rand Corp.
Transition from academic curiosity to classified interest occurred quietly, driven by Cold War fears that human cognition itself had become a strategic vulnerability. The first large-scale institutional effort to explore the manipulation and monitoring of human cognition was conducted by the CIA under a program that would later become publicly known as MKUltra. Established officially in 1953 and terminated in the early 1970s, MKUltra was not a single experiment, but a network of more than 150 sub-projects conducted at universities, hospitals, prisons, and military facilities. Its stated objective, as confirmed in declassified documents.
Now, let me ask you something. Do you really think because they said they shut it down, that they shut it down? Huh? Do you really think because they said they shut it down, they shut it down? Didn't they said they shut down gain of function? Was it shut down? Or did it move from Fort Detrick to China? You tell me. That's a rhetorical question. Let's continue on.
And U.S. Senate hearings was to explore methods of influencing human behavior, cognition, perception, and resistance to interrogation. While MKUltra is often remembered for its use of psychoactive substances such as LSD, declassified records show that the program also funded research into electroshock therapy, sensory deprivation, hypnosis, and brain signal manipulation. These methods were pursued not to read thoughts in a literal sense, but to disrupt, override, or reprogram cognitive processes. The key institutional shift here was conceptual. The mind was treated as an operational domain, not a private interior experience. The Church Committee hearings of 1975-1976 confirmed that many of these experiments were conducted without informed consent, including on military personnel and civilian patients.
Crazy.
Running parallel to intelligence agency research was formal military investment in neuroscience through the U.S. Department of Defense, particularly during the 1960s and 1970s. Internal military research documents and later Government Accountability Office reports show growing interest in human performance optimization, cognitive load, reaction time, and decision-making under stress. This research laid the groundwork for treating neural signals as actionable data rather than purely clinical indicators. By the 1990s, these efforts became more transparent under the establishment of the DARPA. Unlike earlier covert programs, DARPA publicly acknowledged its neuroscience.
Do me a favor, everybody. Now you can hit the like button. Now you can subscribe to the channel. You understand? Before you can't find me. Trust me. Stranger things have happened. You sit here watching on your phone, and next thing you know, I just blink out and you can't find my channel. Oh, where was he? He was live a second ago. They got me hidden deep. You understand? Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button. If you find at any time that you're not getting notified, you have to unselect the bell and then reselect the bell. All right? Let us continue on.
Science initiatives, though many technical details remained classified. Programs such as augmented cognition and later human-assisted neural devices HAND, explicitly aim to measure brain activity in real time to assess attention, fatigue, and information overload in soldiers and pilots. DARPA documentation makes clear that EEG and related neural monitoring tools were evaluated as ways to adapt systems dynamically based on a user's mental state, effectively allowing machines to respond to thought patterns without verbal input. One of the most significant institutional shifts occurred when neural data moved from laboratory environments into operational systems. Defense-funded research confirmed that EEG signals could be used to trigger commands, filter information, and assist in targeting or navigation tasks.
That's crazy. You have to think about the realities that we're hearing right now. The fact that our brain waves can be recognized, interpreted, and communicated with is a serious conversation to have. Because obviously there's so many implications that can be done with just the reality of this can happen now. Or we know it can happen now. And let me tell you something. If I know anything about the people who's doing the research and investing into this area of science and technology and culture and life, is that they're not going to stop. And the other thing is they're not going to use it for good. So whatever good ideas that you thought that they're going to use, no, it's going to be the opposite. I assure you that. And that's just from experience. Let's continue on.
Was not framed as mind reading, but as closed-loop human-machine integration, a term that appears consistently in military research literature. In this framework, the brain is both a sensor and a controller within a larger system. The medical domain also played a critical role in legitimizing neural interfaces. Programs funded through military and veterans healthcare systems supported brain-computer interface research for paralyzed patients and amputees. These initiatives demonstrated, in peer-reviewed clinical trials, that neural signals alone could be translated into cursor movement, robotic limb control, and later text generation. Once this capability was established therapeutically, its dual-use potential was formally acknowledged in defense assessments. By the early 2000s...
Yes, who wrote that? Mobile. You know why I didn't mention it, Mobile? Because I didn't know who else watched Fallout, bro. Right? Even right now, YouTube is telling me I got 2 people in here. So they back on their BS and they like, yo, we don't really want you to think that people are in here. So they done kicked everybody out. They got it down to 0. Same old shenanigans. Yes, Mobile. Yo, Mobile, I don't know if you can still hear me or if they kicked you out, right? If you can still hear me, Mobile, just push 1. But anyway, Mobile is absolutely correct. Yes, Mobile. Yes. I don't even know who else is in here, bro. They got it literally saying nobody is watching right now. But you were absolutely right. You hear? Okay, cool. So they can't fool us, right? These are the tactics that they use. Thank you, bro. Thank you. So I know people are watching me. So basically, YouTube is lying to me. Let me show you something. I just want you to see that they... Right? Oh, no. See? Now I tried to show you, and now they put it to 5. So, obviously, I think there's someone at YouTube that just watches my show. right? Because soon as I said I'm going to show you, they bumped it up to 5. You just kicked everybody out, bro. Or you made it seem like there was nobody here because you wanted me to be frustrated so I wouldn't talk about it anymore. But dig this, bro. We not even close to my show ending. I got more. I didn't talk about the Blue Brain Project yet. I'm just talking about things that I'm just warming up. This is like a primer when you paint a room and then you paint it gray. That's all I'm doing right now. Don't get nervous now, YouTube. Don't get nervous now. But if... Oh, some of your comments just disappeared. Yeah, that's what they do, bro. But guess what, Mobile? It lets us know that we're on the right path. And guess what? I'm not over here saying anything about another race that's crazy. Here's the crazy part, right? This one, you know, censorship is real. I'm not saying anything about another race that's crazy, another religion that's crazy, right? Another gender, lifestyle. I'm not saying nothing crazy. I'm not even using profanity. See, some people thought it was because of that. No, it doesn't matter if I dress up in a tie. It doesn't matter if I stop using profanity. It is the actual information. It's the knowledge they don't want you to have. It's the fact that you would sit there for 2 hours and discuss these type of topics with this guy up there. Why are you listening to him? There's other YouTubers out here that's talking about way more funnier things. Go listen to them. This guy's a nut job, right? Don't look up. Don't look up. And in typical vampirical culture, what they do is they put it in the movies and the television shows. Now, are you going to watch all of these television shows? No, you're not. But me having a streaming service, I actually look at a lot of different TV shows. So I'm like, I'm watching Fallout Season Part 2 right now. And I never have nobody to share that with until Mobile just said what he said. And I'm like, finally, it's not me. I'm not going crazy. They put it right in the movies. What's another one? Besides this, it's in all the shows. They just separate them and put them out across all the shows, whether it's Pluribus, whether it's Severance. Severance is another one. Yeah, tendonism, right? They want us to do all of these challenges, and that's what they really want us to be, imbeciles, Mobile. They really want us to be imbeciles. I'm last of a dying breed, bro. I'm the last of a dying breed. But shout out to the cats that are, like I said, there's bigger YouTubers, but there was already big. You know, Kim Iverson, she had left The Hill. I used to watch The Hill. Right? You have who's the black girl who left Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire. I used to watch the Daily Wire until Ben Shapiro he couldn't hold it in no more, and he just showed how racist he was, and then I had to leave the Daily Wire. Some of these people have bigger names, the people that's talking on these things. I think I like Tucker Carlson, but I also think Tucker Carlson is an agent here on Jesuit business. He's here to act like I never knew none of this stuff. You've known all of this stuff. But it helps if they could play one side against the other and you're playing on the side. Even though you're saying what I like, right? So I like what Tucker Carlson is saying, and I agree with what he's saying. I do, but I'm not an idiot. I know you're just saying it because you were sent to play that position. I'm not an idiot. It's like a whore who tells you, I love you, Poppy. Oh my gosh, your cock is so big. She's just telling you things that you want to hear. Do you think she really loves you? Candace Owens, right. That's it. Moving forward. Thank you. All right. So obviously people are still here. Even though YouTube is telling me nobody's here. So we're going to finish the video and then we're going to get into the Blue Brain Project.
The distinction between classified and semi-classified research narrowed further as defense contractors entered the space. Companies such as Lockheed Martin and Raytheon participated in government-funded human systems integration research, focusing on how neural monitoring could reduce error rates, improve response time, and support autonomous or semi-autonomous weapons platforms. These efforts did not involve reading semantic thoughts, but relied on measurable neural states, such as intent, readiness, and cognitive strain.
Woo.
What emerges from the documented...
Did you hear that? Focus on the intent. Let me tell you something, party people. Let me tell you something. If this thing is going anywhere near where we can imagine this thing going with the surveillance, right? It's one thing to have face recognition. That's one thing. And by the way, they was working on facial recognition since the 60s, 70s as well. But the combination of facial recognition, reading someone's brainwave for intent, if there's patterns to thought that can be the equivalent of words, which I do think they can. I'm basically talking about a language of brainwaves. But they figured out the patterns of bases of ATCG, deoxide ribonucleic acid, DNA. They figured out those patterns. It took them a while, but they figured it out. And now, they didn't figure out everything. Don't get it twisted, right? There's a lot they still don't understand. So they're really just playing around with things. But they will figure out more. Now that we know that they've been trying to find out patterns within the brain waves, right, since like the 50s, the goal of 2030 to have sustainable goals of 2030, but sustainable for what? For a new world order, to be honest. I don't like to say that word because the algorithm, the system hears it and then it does funny things. But that's what it will be. I just usually say a different time dispensation. It will no longer be what we know, right? And a lot of people are freaking out about that because what we're used to, some people are just used to racism. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think there's going to be a need for this type of racism that we knew in the past where we're going, right? And I don't know how people are going to. Don't worry. You will die off and the next generation will adapt and evolve. So they'll flush you out one way or the other. But right now, people are going kicking and screaming, bro. Yes. Who's that? Lil Foots. Lil Foots is exactly Lil Foots. Exactly. Look. Caught him. 0. How many viewers it say I got? It says I have 0 viewers. And yet, I have people in my chat from all over right now. I got people in my chat from all over. So they do these type of tactics on purpose. They don't want me to know how many people are actually watching me right now. They would prefer that I shut down, right? They would make it seem like this is an unsuccessful show. That why are you talking about this topic? No one is listening. Thank you, Mobile. Thank you.
Record is not a hidden conspiracy, but a consistent institutional logic. Governments did not seek to read minds in the science fiction sense. They sought to instrument cognition, to detect when a human operator was overwhelmed, distracted, hesitant, or ready to act. Once that instrumentation existed, the boundary between observation and influence became increasingly thin. Crucially, none of these programs framed neural data as personal property. Military and intelligence documents treated brain signals as operational inputs, similar to radar returns or biometric identifiers. The ethical debate over cognitive liberty, the idea that mental data deserves special legal protection, did not meaningfully...
Yo, I can't even believe that is a conversation on whether someone's cognitive brain waves or just natural operations should be private or not. Like, why is that a conversation if this is not all about world domination, right? They don't like these type of words, and they think they trigger people, and they think it's malinformation. But why am I not allowed to talk? There's so many things you don't want me to talk about, right? So if I do talk about Zionism, then you're able to you come at me with words like anti-Semitic. Fine. So I'm not going to talk about that. But what is your reason for you trying to censor me talking about everything else that you're actually doing? I'm not making these things up. This is not a conspiracy. You're actually working. You worked on things like splitting the atom, doing things that you have no business doing. And when you seen effects, you did not share these effects with everybody. Me personally, I do think that the Mandela effect that most of us experience is because of the collider that they're smashing atoms together with and playing things. Because if you, in my theory, if all is one and energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can only be transferred, and we're just reusing the energy every time someone comes into this planet and is procreated and, again and again and again, then when you do something like tear one atom apart, what information was in that atom? What information are in these molecules that you're just destroying? You don't know. You don't care because you're trying to, your curiosity. And as technologically advanced that we think we are, I really think we're still primitive, to be honest with you. I think there's beings that may be way superior and understand the do's and the don'ts of what not to do. Let's finish this video.
Emerge until decades after these systems were already under development. The historical record shows a clear progression. First, the brain was measured, then it was mapped, then it was stimulated, then it was integrated into control systems. Each step was justified by national security, medical necessity, or performance enhancement.
The National Security Act, that needs to be... You notice they don't teach these things in school either, right? None of your kids have come home and ever told you that they learned about the National Security Act. No, that you won't be learning about that unless it's on your own or you're over there watching that stupid program Society Past, Present, and Future on YouTube.
None required speculation. All are supported by declassified files, congressional testimony, and peer-reviewed research. The uncomfortable conclusion is this: By the time the public began discussing brain privacy, the infrastructure for neural data extraction had already been built. The question facing society now is not whether thoughts can become data. That question was answered long ago. But whether there will be meaningful limits on how that data is used once it leaves the mind.
Now, that's my... Yep, CERN, Littlefoots, thank you. That's my video. I'll release that tomorrow. In case you want to watch that again without... It won't be on the live. You understand? You can download it. You can do what you want with it. You watch it again. Listen to it while you're driving. This, that, and the third. I want to go somewhere else now. There is a young lady. I had her show up. I don't know why it's down. All right, this was up. I don't know what happened. Anyway, it's going to play commercials, and I honestly don't care.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once
got some
again, but
commercials,
if you've
but
forgotten to get that special someone
don't
in your
nobody
life
go
a gift,
nowhere. It's going to be a good
Mint Mobile is
conversation. I'm
extending
actually
their
going to go
holiday
get the
offer
dinner
of
that
half
my
off
wife
unlimited wireless. So here's the idea.
made
You
for
get
me.
it now. You call it an early present for next year.
And
What
come
do you have
back.
to lose? Give it a
But I
try at
wanna wait for this to start first.
mintmobile.com/switch.
Now let me say something
Limited time,
about her.
50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months.
The woman's name is Sarah Westall. All right, and the name of her show is Business Game Changers. Right, so that's who we're listening to, Sarah Westall. There's not many of us that still care about reporting on information that we feel that everyone should be aware of. And when I do see another kindred spirit, I like to support that person. So I'm not out here by myself. So I was listening to some of her other work. I like it. I like how she thinks. Me and her could probably definitely have lunch for hours and just discuss a bunch of things, right? So it has nothing to do with skin color, obviously. I'm black, she's white, but we're there. We're definitely there. And this is why I didn't want to harp on the whole conversation about Bad Bunny and racism, because it's only going to tear us apart more and more, right? I did talk about it, but that was only so that the algorithm could think I wanted to talk about helping them divide the people. I don't want to help divide the people. I want to help mobilize the people and bring us together. But let's keep on going.
Month $90 for 6 month or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
Now, I might leave this playing like I said and go get some food, but I'll be back, all right? So don't nobody go nowhere.
What we're really dealing with is an economy of energy. And so when it comes right down to it, what I said about relinquishing the outcome, relinquishing and just going into a process, okay, so I like to watch the way President Trump deals with his detractors. You ever notice he doesn't give up hardly any energy to these people that are trying to tear him down? He gives them a look. And that tells them everything. It's like, I'm determined to get through this. But he doesn't waste energy. He doesn't sleep because he has a lot to do. So he's not allowing circumstances to dictate to him. And I'll tell you the way I phrased it. you're either the effect of a cause, and this is where the mass formation hypnosis comes in, or you're the cause of an effect.
Welcome to Business Game Changers. I'm Sarah Westall. I have David Masters coming to the program. He's an industry legend in the radio world. He and his brother started Talk Radio Network, TRN, which were the ones that syndicated coast to coast over 500 stations with Art Bell. That radio program is legendary. It was the most listened to program, aside from a few others, maybe like Rush Limbaugh or something. It was the number one program, and it was at midnight. And he said, the time of day really mattered. But he did other really popular shows as well, like Laura Ingraham. He produced that one for 5 years. But he also won awards in his own right. He has 3 comedy awards. He has been a producer and a writer and an author, and he has his own podcast, and he's just so much fun to talk to. And his dad, he talks about his story. His dad was a hypnotist, and his own story as a child and how he grew to understand other phenomena in the world and how that really shaped his life and his understanding. And then how in Coast to Coast, he was just bombarded with all these interesting ideas and how that changed him. And it all kind of accumulated into what he has today. And his website and his flagship book, which is called How to Escape the Prison for Your Mind. I mean, because that's kind of what we're in. He claims we're all essentially hypnotized and we don't even realize it. And those of us who have broken out of parts of this don't feel like you belong. You just kind of watch things from a distance and wonder, holy crap, what's going on? And so we talk about that as well. And he also talks about the Blue Brain Project. I hope you stay that long. This is a really long show. And about 2/3 in, we talk about the Blue Brain Project. And holy crap, about how they're working to analyze every aspect of our brain and what that means. This gets into all different kind of categories, but I also share things about myself that I've never shared anywhere ever. I just felt like, okay, I'm going to share it. So I hope you enjoy or appreciate that part of it. But before I get into that, I want to talk about gold and silver and the fact that Andy, I have my Friday night economic review show, and Andy Schekman comes on every other week, and then I have other brilliant minds that come on, every other week as well. And we talked about the fact that silver and gold were going to readjust in the beginning of the year, because what happens is that these big institutions have all of these funds that they're managing, and by contract they can't have certain asset classes being larger than others. It has to be distributed because that's what their contracts is about, sharing the risk. And so at this time of year, they always sell and balance out their portfolios. And with gold and silver going up so extreme over the last year, they had to do it by contract. So they had to sell a whole bunch of stuff. So it looks like maybe there was manipulation, when in reality, it could just be the market readjusting itself, because it happens every single time to balance out these contracts. But we're going to talk about this tomorrow. Are there other things that are causing the gold and silver to go down so much? Because it's gone down significantly. It went up to like 110, and then it went down to 77. That's a huge drop, that silver price. But what that tells you, this is a wonderful time to get in. I wish I would have put my husband's IRA in this week instead of 2 weeks ago. So it's a great time to buy. But I still think 2 weeks ago was a great time to buy, because I think it's going to...
This is how I feel. Maybe, especially with the Bitcoin, right? I'm not going to lie. When it hit 100, I was like, damn, when it was at 60, I should have brought. But I think this is musical chairs. I think, honestly, at some point, they're going to be, they're just going to stop the music. And that's going to be it for Bitcoin, right? But we don't know when they're going to stop the music. And as far as gold and silver, this is not the first. Well, this is kind of record breaking for gold to be at 5,000, I think. But gold was definitely at 4,000 in the 80s, and then it went back down to 300. So I don't know. You guys tell me. You understand? Now I don't want to listen to the whole entire thing, only because I want to be aware of your time as well. Let me see if I can try to find a good place in her podcast.
almost condones anything, like any kind of evil behavior is okay from the perspective of this new age philosophy that all you're doing here is learning and even the bad stuff is okay. And I just can't accept some of that, those viewpoints. Can you explain what you mean by new age? And I bet you we're kind of converging on the same ideas here.
I think so. The New Age is the oldest religion.
She's talking to David Masters. Let's look up who David Masters is. David Masters. Okay. I see see what type of books he has. See what's going on. He's an award-winning radio producer, voiceover artist, creative writer, thought leader, radio host of a few, possesses the ability to successfully change others to be the best they can be. He has a couple of books out here. War of Whisperers? What? Okay, Dave. I might have to check out your books, bro. Pay attention to your intuition. Show y'all what's going on here. The ancient text from the book of Enoch. High strangeness and demonic entities. Purpose. How to escape the prison for your mind, and source code. Any more books? Yeah, he got more books. Narcissist Spiritual Assassins. Okay, Dave. Source code: transformation through identity modification. The living field, how consciousness shapes reality. Yo. Consciousness from the quantum vacuum. Okay, Dave, I see what's going on now. I wrote one book, and I could see from this right here. You took what I did and you went to the moon with it, the blueprint. Okay, I gotta stop BSing around. I gotta start putting out way more books. Dave is not playing around. His name is David Masters. He's not playing around.
On Earth. And it's exactly how you described it. It's kind of like discover yourself as a mini god. And this is what is being circulated today by a lot of these teachers, that everybody's a god. I don't believe that, because if you look at the idea of intelligent design, there's no way that all of this could just be coincidence or evolution. I believe in natural selection, as Darwin actually described it on his deathbed, that there's a change in species as they adapt. Although the interesting thing about science, which I love science, by the way, I'm a science fanatic, because science is only proving the things I always suspected. When it's done right, when it's objective, not when it's subjective like global warming. You know, I just read an article on Citizen Free Press that says nobody believes in the global warming nonsense anymore. Nobody,
because they've been shown the facts. So it's like, knock it off. But
right.
but we do know that there's pollution and there's issues. So
Right.
we're not going to abandon that part of it. It's just don't tell us a bunch of garbage and then create agendas around that. But what did Darwin say on his deathbed? You gave us half of it and then
Well, what he said was he wasn't let me put it to you this way. He said that what he was trying to describe was natural.
Stop. And we'll get back to him, because I'm very curious to find out what he's talking about with Darwinism. However, I'm looking at the chat, and they definitely. Thank you, baby. I'm looking at the chat. And they're telling me that the senators approved in 2025 something called the MIND Act, or Management of Individuals' Neural Data Act of 2025, aims to regulate the use of neural technology and protect neural data privacy while promoting innovation. It addresses concerns about potential misuse of neural data, including discrimination and manipulation, and seeks to establish guidelines for ethical practices. And like I said, we go too far. We go too far. Thank you, subscribers, and to the chat for providing me with that information. This is crazy. This is crazy. All right, let's get back to the audio.
Selection. And what the agenda-driven people did was they grabbed that idea and they turned it into this entire evolutionary concept, and then they built around it. Now, what we're discovering, for example, the pyramids of Giza, they found these structures beneath the Great Pyramid of Giza. Now they've discovered by additional scans that every one of the pyramids has these structures underneath them.
In Giza.
In Giza.
Yeah. Well, how incredible is that? So going a little bit back to Darwin and then moving back to these pyramids. So
Right.
he's essentially saying that natural selection does happen. I mean, if you have people that are just with humans, if only the tall people mate, then you're going to eventually just have a bunch of tall people. So
Right.
natural selection, it does occur, but he didn't say that's the only phenomenon.
That's right. He didn't.
Yeah.
He absolutely did not. And yes, they did a study on a particular lake in, I think it was Tanzania or somewhere in Africa. And they found that there was a fish there, but there were 400 different variations on the fish. That is absolutely perfect example of natural selection, because after they kept breeding and breeding and breeding, there were all these different varieties of the same fish. But the fish actually was fundamentally the same. Well, humans, they've discovered now, going back at least 200,000 years, they found some remains of people in a cave. And as they do the genetic testing and the genetics get better, they discover that people really haven't changed much over the last 200,000 years. And that's just what they've been able to find, because the Earth itself has a way of sort of erasing the past. So it's very interesting to step back and objectively look at what it means to be human. And I think we're starting to get more clues of what it means to be human. Darwin was simply a scientist trying to figure the whole thing out, but on his deathbed, he admitted it wasn't supposed to become a religion. It was just supposed to be his studies and his way of explaining how things work and change. So yeah.
And they always take it to the extreme. And what do you mean the way Earth has a way of erasing history?
Well, because of the way that our planet is designed, and again, I'm an absolute true believer in intelligent design. Everything has an intelligence built into it. And there's a book written by a man named Ben Bova. He was a researcher who wrote a book called Light. The book is 3 inches thick, and it just describes the properties and the amazing things that come about as a result of light alone.
The American Airlines Advantage Business Program is changing the way companies book travel and get rewarded. Designed for fast-growing businesses, the program makes it easy to earn rewards. And it's free to join. Your company earns 1 Advantage mile for every $1 spent on business.
He's about to go in. He said light alone.
Use these miles to help
I've been
offset
teaching on all these things.
expenses, transfer to employees, and more. You'll
Excuse
also
me
gain
while I
access
eat.
to a suite of tools to streamline travel management, including the ability to view employee activity, manage
They got a
surveys,
commercial break
and
going on.
report with ease. And it's a win-win. Travelers can earn additional loyalty points on top of what they already earn through the Advantage program.
When I spoke about these
helping them
things, though,
reach
they
status
try to make it
faster.
seem like
Earn more on
I wasn't
business travel
qualified to
with
talk
all
about
rate
these
taken
things.
with
It's okay.
American
Like I
Airlines
said, I know I
Business
wasn't going
Loyalty.
crazy.
Register today at aa.com/advantage business.
So, I mean, when you just look at the properties of nature, of the naturalistic laws, it's mind-boggling how everything, there's no way
agree
that
with you.
anything could be random. Nothing is random. Everything is specifically got a component of intelligent design built into it.
And I think that's what, when you discover science, when you're really a scientist, that picture starts to emerge. And so if you're an honest scientist, you can't say that there is no God or there's no intuition and there's no spirituality. How can you possibly make that kind of decision as a scientist when everything points to it?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And, you know, it's interesting to note that no matter what culture you examine, they all have a deity. So the idea of us wanting to understand as human beings what God is, who God is, that's sort of ubiquitous. It's in every culture. It's in every mind. And there's a book that was written about how we are wired to believe in something greater than ourselves. We're wired that way. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in a world where I didn't believe in God. I mean, because nothing would make sense to me. Believing in God, and God is not a person, by the way. Jesus talked about it, worshiping in spirit and in truth. God is a spirit, whatever that is.
I know,
And
we don't even know
science-
what that is, right?
Right, exactly. Science is unveiling these various dimensions as they go through and they look at the subatomic structure of reality. But also they're discovering that human consciousness is non-local. This is a really interesting arena for me.
Yes, yeah.
Because non-locality of consciousness means that we are the way we were designed is that we are radio tuners. We receive, and what we receive, we transmit. So we're both a receiver and a transmitter of information. And then the question is, well, what are those various planes of information? Where do they exist, and how do we tap into them? And to me, that's the most fascinating of all questions, because that's where you discover your relationship with God, because God is information. Now, there are people that will take that to the furthest extent, and I'm hearing a lot of conversations about AI. And I'm not afraid of AI, other than it's not the AI that's the problem. It's how it will be used by bad people.
It's human beings using it, right?
Exactly.
And they're already using it to create all this kind of fear. I mean, they know that it creates fear in people. So I'm watching just what came out of Davos, or what you're hearing everywhere. There's an agenda of fear, because if you can put people into this fear state, you can do almost anything you want to people, because they're irrational. And they're using AI to do that right now, it feels like, because it just seems surreal, some of the statements they're saying about it.
Well, I will tell you that several years ago, I discovered, and they were actually talking about it at the World Economic Forum, these mind reading devices that they make them wear in China. They're already being able to look at what your thoughts are. So if your thoughts are not on your work, or if they're in the girl next door, in the next booth, you can get pinged for that.
Yeah, so that's in a real life example.
That's real. That's real.
And so the fear, that's why I struggle, because I'm like, well, gosh, what they're saying is actually true, but they're saying it in such a dystopian way that I think they're using it as an agenda, even though there are real issues here, like you just laid out.
Well, it is an agenda, and remember that fear kicks in the survival mechanism, the survival instinct, and let's talk about evolution for a minute. Ultimate evolution is to evolve beyond fight or flight. Well, that means that you have arrived at a different state of consciousness in which you are not invested in an outcome, that you've actually relinquished outcomes for process. And process has to do with being tapped into what it is that feeds your information to you. And that, if we want to talk about believing in a God, Christ demonstrated that. And when you talk about what it means to be a spiritual person, he knew ahead of time everything that was going to happen to him. He could see it. He could see it. And he knew who he was dealing with in every single person he came across. He was never defensive. He was always gracious and kind and understanding, because you could see into these people. And in the end, relinquishing the outcome, he was hanging on a cross, and he said to his creator, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. He could see that the world was in a mass formation, which we call hypnosis. And when Robert Malone, the inventor of the mRNA technology, started talking about it with Joe Rogan on his podcast, they turned them off. They tried to cancel them. We are all existing in a mass formation of hypnosis until we are not, until we awaken, and until we relinquish or are willing, get to that point where we're willing to relinquish outcomes. And that's a very hard thing to do, because business is all about outcomes, right? Life is all about outcomes. But when we stop being the engineer, when we stop being the designer of the ultimate outcome that we desire, and we allow for a greater process to kick in, there's a scripture that says, the eye has not seen, the ear has not heard, neither have entered into the mind the things that God has in store for those who love him. So loving the process of letting go and letting God is an ultimate process. And so what happens is there's a certain degree of surrender. As opposed to fight or flight, we kind of surrender in that moment, and we allow another process that we cannot necessarily even comprehend to play out.
And you have to be able to do that artfully, though, because, and I'm going to throw this at you, because you're not saying do nothing and just let things happen. You're saying being very actively engaged, but no, because I've come to this conclusion too, that, and I've said this to Stacy, who's my producer, she's awesome.
A wonderful, wonderful lady.
Yeah. And I said, you know what? There's so many things that happen to me that I'm like, I'm not this good for this to happen to me. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that happen to me, like, why, or doesn't happen for me, like, why can't I get this to happen, even though it's really easy? Like, this should be easy. And we talk and we kind of laugh about it. And that's exactly what it is that you're saying. There's just, it's like universe has a plan for you, and universe, God, whatever you want to call it. But that does not mean that you don't be an engineer, be a scientist, be an inventor, be a business person, be a conduit for change, but yet know that there's a bigger process at play. And also don't try to rig the whole outcome of that process. That's what you're getting at. That's
what I'm saying.
Human beings trying to bring back the Antichrist or something crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what the heck is that?
There's a preacher that I witnessed talking about wanting a revolution in order for Christ to return. There are people who want to bring the Antichrist back. Literally, John Hagee said it out of his own mouth. I was like, oh my gosh, you want to see people die for your belief about that precipitating the return of Christ? No.
Unless they're being used to bring through a process. But regardless, it's just, I think it's kind of nutville, actually. And
crazy.
And to get balance, you are doing, you have a really good book on intuition. And there's some pretty amazing topics that you have in there. I've been training with Daz Smith on remote viewing for over a year now, because I've been trying to understand the process. My goal is to understand the process. I don't profess to be the best one in the world at it, but I'm getting better. And I realize that as you do it, you learn the process and you become better at it. Like I just did one where it was the Roman Colosseum, and I did keep drawing something that looked like the Roman Colosseum.
Before she talks about intuition, I'm on the Blue Brain website, Project Blue Brain. It says 14 key milestones of enabling simulation neuroscience. Number 1, mining and populating neuroscience data and knowledge in knowledge graphs. That's number one. Now, remind you, I just said that in 2025, the Mind Act, it appears it was either presented or passed. Was it passed? The Mind Act or management of individual aims to regulate. Let's see. Referring to as is a proposed legislation aimed at regulating the use. Okay, so it was proposed. At this time, I don't know if it was passed, but I can find out before the next show, and we have some intelligent people in the chat who could definitely find out as well. I also want to look at some of these milestones. Establishing the number and spatial distributions of all the neurons and glia in each of the mouse's brain regions, okay? Number 3, deriving all known cell types in each brain region according to morphological, electrical, and genetic criteria. Number 4, creating and enhancing a 3D digital atlas of all known neurons, glia cells, and microvascular vasculature in the whole mouse brain. Number 5, mathematically growing the dendrites of all neurons found in the mouse brain. Number 6, mathematically growing the local, regional, and whole brain axonal projections of all neurons found in the mouse's brain. Number 7, data-driven electrical modeling to recreate all types of electrical behaviors. That's going back to what I was telling you about the patterns. Remember, I was saying they want to be able to sequence the patterns. They'll do the same thing with they did it with DNA. They'll do the same thing with the brain cell, with the brain waves. They want to be able to break it down to a language. Number 8, algorithmically recreating the connectome region to region, area to area, neuron to neuron levels. Number 9, validating the biological fidelity of digital brain tissue. Validating the biological fidelity of digital brain tissue. Number 10, mimicking biological experiments and making verifiable predictions with digital brain tissue. 11, demonstrating the utility of biophysical detailed modeling for studying the structure function relation. Number 12, reconstructing the neuroglia vascular system with submicron precision and molecular simulation of metabolic system of the brain. Number 13, unifying algorithms for synaptic plasticity to study learning and adaptation to stimuli at all scales. And number 14, drum roll please, improving the performance of brain simulation software and model representation to enable robust, scientifically valuable, and large-scale simulation campaigns. Wow. I just wanted to Littlefoot, I started to I looked at what you said about the grand. I think you spelt that word wrong. See if you spelt the word correctly. The grand. I'm finding geometric. Another word. It doesn't say mathematician though. ultimately it has to do with the grand architect, Littlefoot's. Ultimately. But no, I think we learn from each other, bro. I don't know everything. I learn from you guys, and I'm humble enough to. I just like to have intelligent conversation, Littlefoots. That's it. You understand? It's things you guys know that I learned from you, and I know some things, and I can't talk about it with everybody because everybody's not down with that type of conversation. You understand? So, all right. I'm gonna keep. I was gonna go, but y'all seem like y'all enjoying the show, so I'm gonna keep her audio going. And, you could go in, go out, bounce, come back tomorrow, whatever. But I'm going to just let it rock out. I'm going to let her rock out. You understand?
I just couldn't. I have to learn the process of understanding how to let things come through me. I'm not that. I'm learning. But the bottom line is there's something to all this. You know, the fact that I can even get close to drawing something that looks like the Roman is amazing. But everybody has that ability. And you have studied this for a long time, trying to come up. One of the concepts that I saw in your book is the Blue Brain Project. What is that?
Let me frame this, because I want to, before I lose touch with this thought, I want to go back to what you said. I'm not saying do nothing.
All right. So just so that you know, in case you're trying to figure out where is that in her podcast, Sarah Westall, Business Game Changers, the Blue Brain Project. It's at minute 31. 31. All right?
Because that's the third form of knowing. Now, what do I mean by that? It goes into the question you asked me. You know, you think you know, but what if you don't know? Now, not knowing is another form of knowing. How do you know you don't know? So what I'm saying is relinquishing the outcome means allowing yourself to be, the word revelation means to have something revealed to you. Allowing things to be revealed to you, but you cannot get there. And for me, this is the higher plane that I want to be on. Because these are all frequencies, the remote viewing.
That's right.
I used to produce the Art Bell's Dreamland. And what was his name? Oates. I can't remember his first name. John Michael Oates, I think it was. He was this guy who was a famous remote viewer. So they sent me down to his home down in San Diego to produce him. We were going to do a show on this. This guy was out of his mind. He was just out of his mind. He was surrounded by all kinds of weird symbolism and ancient artifact, weird stuff that he was trying to draw energy from. So it was like, it was not my, wasn't my thing. It was like, I didn't want to be involved with that. There was an occult aspect to what John Michael Oates was doing. He was very off his rocker, but he also tapped in to what I'm describing as these frequencies that, you're a tuner. You can tune your mind into all kinds of stuff. I was listening to something about these famous rock and rollers who wrote these famous songs. And they were asking a couple of these guys, where did you get that from? I don't know. It just came to me. Everything can come to you. But what I'm looking for is revelation. I want things to be revealed to me. And that goes into the name of my book is Pay Attention to Your Intuition. Precognition and warning in dreams. But if you are there constantly configuring your reality and manipulating reality itself with your beliefs and ideas, you're never going to have that moment, what I call the aha moment, where something is shown to you that you never would have seen. Mm-hmm. And so, the Blue Brain Project, that is another one of those arenas.
I don't know how many of you guys have ever had that experience, right? Where it was definitely, what's the word? obviously some type of phenomenon, but it was it was outside of the human experience as we know it, right? I'm not saying it was divine, but there's been several times where I listened to my intuition. One time because I listened to my intuition so hard, and I never used to do this, but I had a friend named, it doesn't matter his name, but he told me about always listen to your intuition. Always listen to your intuition. And this is after something crazy happened to me in New York. So when I had moved to Atlanta, I got into a bunch of stuff while I was living into Atlanta. I was young, you understand? I was doing a lot of stuff down there. But anyway, I started making some money in Atlanta. I went down there, I had $24 in my pocket, right? And within a couple of months, I had came up $20,000, right? And I'm dating this badass girl from, I think she went to Clark. I get confused because I had a lot of friends and a lot of acquaintances. I didn't have relations with all of the females I wanted to down there. There was some bad joints at Spelman, God knows, that I never touched. But I got with this other girl. She was from Philly, and I think she was studying I don't know what she was studying, to tell you the truth. I know some of her friends became lawyers, but I forgot. Like, two of her friends became lawyers, but I don't know what she was studying. But she was bad, Jack. And so I'm riding around. I don't really have a job per se. I don't have a job. It's not even per se. I didn't have a job. I was trying to get a job. I was trying to figure out what I'm going to get into. I tried real estate, and that blew up in my face. And I just partied for a living, to tell you the truth. And I went to bed one night, and I had a dream that somebody, I talk about it in one of my raps, that somebody was going to come for me. And I know they were. The dream was too real. I know they was coming. It was some stick-up kids that I knew back from Mount Vernon. And I know they were going to come for me, right? And they would have probably tried to rob me. And even though sometimes in robberies you don't plan to kill somebody. And guess what? Somebody may end up dead. So in this dream, I was shot, and I was just like, oh, I woke up. It was so real when I woke up. I booked a flight, broke up with homegirl, and when I woke up that morning, I was out of there. I left Atlanta that afternoon. She was crying. She was calling on my friends. Yo, he's bugging. He's leaving. They're like, he's leaving? Yeah, he's leaving. He said he had a dream. Yeah, I don't play with my intuition because it was that real. It told me, like, yo, it wasn't just like, okay, this is something that could happen. It actually, the intuition actually told me to leave too. It told me, yo, go back home. So I listened to it. And I think the first week for sure, first week that I got back, I met an African named Pop. And he made me the manager. I never knew him before that. The first week that I got back, I met an African Pop, and he said, yo, you want to be a manager at my clothing store? And I said, yeah. What the hell else am I doing? And then that's when I met Gabe and Billy and everybody else. I say that to say that wasn't the first time. That wasn't the last time I I pay attention to omens. Always pay attention to your omens and your. There's a different language because I don't believe that whatever's on the other side in that other dimension, whether it is the fourth dimension, we don't know. We're saying things, right? We're trying to rationalize what is actually happening. So we have all these theories. Oh, the fourth dimension, and we can't see the fourth dimension, but they can see us. Yo, not saying that it's not true, but we don't know if it is true. So my theory is that maybe the spirit of my ancestors can talk to me. Maybe they are tapped into the Akashic records. I don't know. That's what I like to believe, that my ancestors are looking out for me, that a higher deity that we call God is actually tapping and saying, nah, move like this. But it doesn't seem like the language is going to be an outspoken language that we hear. It seems, for my 48 years down here on earth, that the language appears to be mathematical. A lot of times I see it in numbers. So when I see a number, I know, okay, it's telling me that I'm doing good, stay focused. Right? I'm seeing certain numbers and it's saying, all right, I'm with you. Just stay focused. I can't make you stay focused. Stay focused. Right? So you would get your... Actually, I read the tarot too. And I know a lot of people are not into the tarot. But the thing is, you have to learn how to communicate somehow with the non-human aspect of your reality. That's all I wanted to say. Let her finish cooking.
Where people can tap into. I just wrote a book called Source Code, and it's all about spontaneous healing through remission. 1,500 people survived these terminal cancer challenges in their lives. Something changed in their perception of themselves. Now, one of the things that changed the most was the way that they looked at themselves, not at the world, but at themselves. And they felt that at some...
Shout out to Roby is in the building. Shout out to Roby is in the building.
Level, they were all victims. And I remember hearing this concept, and I wanted to find out more about it because, like I said, I lost a finger when I was a child. Ever since that time, the way my mom reacted, it put into me something terrible happened that I couldn't comprehend when I was 3.5 years old. So I thought I was a victim. And I've had bouts of cancer throughout the course of my life because I was a surfer. I got too much sun ever since I was a kid. I've had skin cancer, hundreds of them burned off, cut out, melanoma, you name it. I've always wanted to understand what is the catalyst for people to heal. And so the research shows that all there is a shift of perception about yourself and what it is that happened to you. Much of it has to do with forgiveness and letting go. And miraculous things happen. People that are literally on their deathbeds come back to life and live full and amazing lives.
Let me also say this. The more you pay attention to your intuition, the louder it becomes. The more you ignore it, more deaf it will become. So then you would look at somebody else and say, oh man, yo, that person got like superpowers, not knowing you have the same powers, but you don't take the time to quiet the noise. You don't take the time to meditate, right? We call it different things. Well, so whether you calling it prayer, right? Because when that person is going to pray, you have to understand the scripture. The scripture says, as a man thinketh in his heart. It never said, as a man thinketh in his mind. It is actually an oxymoron. Right? Shout out to Mexico for still calling me, trying to get me to get some package deals. I'm good, Mexico. I'm good. So the scripture says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Right? We just heard something about the scientists that they want to study your brain waves and focus on intentions. So the thing is, this is what I believe. I believe your intentions, when you get down and you meditate, your intentions determine your frequency. Now, we understand polarity from one side to the other, right? No matter how bad these Satanists want to make it seem like their God is just like one of your gods, right? The thing is, you believe in your God with different intentions, right? So your God is powerful, but your God is also loving, right? Their God, we don't know, but we moving off their actions, right? It seems like they would prefer a lot of chaos. Seems like they want turmoil. These type of actions is a totally different frequency, which will produce something totally different. So love produces something different than hate, and fear produces something different than happiness and joy. However, they don't mind using hate and fear. So anytime you go to meditate or pray with frequencies that have high I want to say resolution, but that's not the word I really mean. But for lack of a better word, because if I compared it to finance, I would say return on investment, ROI, right? Because that's exactly what I mean. This frequency here is going to return a better resonance, a completely better resonance, right? So when I combine that, I love when I have a powerful prayer, right? I'm on high. Not only did I have good news, but I prayed, I meditated, right? And then I drink water, which we know is highly conductive. And when I go into bed, it's like my body is buzzing. It's like I'm on cloud 9. So I don't think we can isolate all of the aspects of our reality, but we have to combine them. But when you take something out, like scientists do, and they say, that can't be proven, so it can't be real. But you yourself know, yo, bro, I seen it, right? I seen 5-2-3 all week, and I played 5-2-3 all week. And then the day I couldn't make it to the bodega, what comes out? 5-2-3, and you kicking yourself, and you start kicking yourself, right?
Just from realization. So for me, the realization process, also known as the revelation process, is having things revealed to you, because a little knowledge is a powerful thing. Now, in the wrong hands, it's very dangerous. In the right hands, it's miraculous.
Well, let me talk about the fact that people can just heal, but do you think that there is something to when it's your time, and when it's not your time, it's not your time? Like there's something out.
Yes. And no. Yes and no. There's two sides
you know what I'm
to
saying?
that.
Yeah, where I've heard so many stories of people that were at near-death experiences, and they're just said, "Hey, it's not your time. You're going back." And then other times, it's like, "Well, it's your time. There's not much more you can do." I don't know. I don't. Go ahead, do your thing. Tell me what you think.
I'll go back to my past now, because, I had some very interesting experiences throughout the course of my early life. The most extraordinary was I had a 3-day.
Hold on, I'm looking at the chats, man. Shout out to Silver Smith. Silver Smith says word salad is bad for you, not a healthy meal. Amen. Yeah. Oh man. That's why I got so frustrated at our last vice president, right? But I was more frustrated when I found out, she doesn't really talk like that. As soon as she lost the election, she was talking regular. And I was just perplexed. I was like, wait a minute. You know how to have a conversation without word salad? Like, you could really hold a conversation? She could the whole time. And that's when I knew she was way smarter than I gave her credit for. You know how intelligent you might have to be fluent in gibberish and then bounce right back into highly articulation in the king's language? Like, nah, you not an idiot. You are not an idiot. Damn, you just played the idiot for all these years? I don't know what to do with that except walk out the room, right? You don't know who you dealing with at that point. If that person is dangerous, what else you know? You know jujitsu? I don't know what else you know. What I know is I'm leaving, right? That's how I feel. That's crazy. Let's carry on.
Out of body experience spontaneously just popped out. And I was attached to my little 13-year-old body like a helium balloon. And my body just dragged me around. And I observed everything from this alternate reality. I believe that we all have the potential to experience this altered state. It can happen in sometimes people try to make it happen through ayahuasca and all these different ways of making it happen and popping out of their body. But then we got to keep in mind there are two different planes of this. There is the dark side and the other metaphysical side of light and meaning. Well, when I was 13 years old, I was out of my body. I watched myself go to sleep 2 nights in a row. On the third day, I woke up and I was back in my body. But I feel like I brought back what I call moon rocks.
Hold on one second. You were out of your body for 3 days in a row or 3 nights?
3 days.
Oh,
3
gosh.
days and nights.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That
And
must have been, at 13, you must have been confused as to
It
what
was crazy. I kept on wondering, when am I going to go back into me? But the thing that I discovered is after these 3 days, I discovered and it guided me for the rest of my life. I was shown, and I believe this was the only takeaway that I was supposed to take with me from that experience, was that I'm not my body. I knew that from the time I was little.
And that's what you're taught by, and that's what Jesus always said. And that's what Christians, and what I think almost every main religion will say, that you're not your body.
Yeah.
But you fundamentally learned it. People who have near-death experiences learn that too. And it's hard once you separate yourself from you realize that this is truly a vessel or an avatar. That's another language for it. How does that change your paradigm?
So it changes everything because you stop making everything personal. Because nothing in this world, even people that try to make things personal, people that attack you verbally, even physically, they try to tear you down. What are they trying to get at? Right?
Yeah.
They're trying to get at the essence of who you really are, which is you're a spirit. We all, when a person goes into a coma, where is the personality? Where's the person? Well, they may still be there, but they're locked in to this, what I call meat puppet. That's what it is. It's just a meat puppet. We tell it what to do. Yes, a meat suit. So if you depersonalize, and I think that's really, and I'm still working on that too, because, everybody has an ego, but the ego is a component that you can't live without. I just wrote an article on my Substack on that. The ego, you either have one of two kinds of ego. You have a very angry, aggressive what I call a prideful ego, or you have a humble ego. The humble ego isn't born with you. The humble ego is what develops. The self-centered ego is what's born with you. Wah, wah, I'm hungry. I want what I want.
But that's survival.
That's survival.
You have to have that.
That's right. And depending upon how your parents deal with you, they either encourage the selfish side of you, or they help you to work your way through it as a child. And so my dad was, let me just go back again. My dad was a professional hypnotist.
Mm-hmm.
And he was born in Brighton, England. And in Brighton, England, back in the 40s in the 40s, he was an observer of hypnotic, what do they call them? People who did the hypnosis on stage hypnotists.
Mm-hmm.
And he would notice that they would do strange things with people, like make them take their shoes off and put them on the other feet. None of the people that he ever saw floated in the air. That's all stage magician stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he thought, if you can make people do stupid things, what if you can make people do good things? So he studied hypnosis. But what he discovered is, and I talked about the mass formation, he discovered something when he was, in his late 20s, early 30s. He realized, and by the way, he had a very famous clientele. It was Lucille Ball, Mae West. Remember Mae West, the actress?
Yep.
George Benson. I would sit there. Doris Day came in. I worked at the front desk when I decided I didn't want to fall off a roof because I was a carpenter when I was in my early 20s. I started working for him. All these amazing human beings came in and like, these are people I see on TV and the movies all the time. And so he discovered that people are already hypnotized and that we are all subject to the strongest influence. That's how culture forms our personalities. So if you're born in China, or if you're born in Mexico, or if you're born in Germany, the culture shapes you because you don't have a firewall, and you need something, by the way, to form your identity. But that's not really your identity. That's just
He just said something right there, and I don't know how many of you caught it. He said you don't have a firewall. You don't have a firewall. So let me ask you guys. I have a lot of intelligent people in here tonight. What do you think your firewall is? Because it's an art. We create the firewall. So I would say that firewall is obviously, one second. Hey, what's up, Bill? Yo, Bill, what's good, bro? Good, man. I'm doing a live right now. I hit you back. All right, man. Peace. What do you say your firewall is? Firewall, I think the religion would be the firewall, right? But what if the shaman never turned into priest and never, you understand? Because obviously there were probably at one point in time, some genuine shaman who probably really thought, hey, believe in me. I got the confidence. I know how to make it rain, right? I got an idea. Let's spike some holes in the coconut, right? Then I'm going to shake it and we're going to get this rain. After 4 days, it rains and he's like, I told you, it works. It works. I know what I'm doing. Everyone's like, yo, he knows me. That's the guy. And the shaman is born. They see he's the only one in the village now that doesn't have to hunt. Everyone else has to go hunt. Guess what? He doesn't have to all of a sudden. Now people are bringing him things, right? Now they want to protect him. Now the chief wants him. He's sitting by the chief. No. They'll bring the food to us. You just keep on working on how to talk to the gods. You keep on doing that. Now, I don't know. I don't recognize the bones and all of this other stuff, but it's all mathematical. You understand? I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the golden rule. Being able to throw bones on the floor and see the pattern. I'm not saying it's fake. I'm saying I can't read those patterns. However, what I was saying was that eventually these type of people were known to be able to talk to the gods. And thus we get later on down the line priest. Because what comes with that status? People bringing you stuff, right? So I'm not saying that the first guy wasn't authentic or even genuine is a better word I should use. And I'm not saying that in between you didn't get people who fully believe in the movement of whatever that religion was. But what I will say is I think that the religions act sort of like a firewall, right? Can they cut off too many portals though, right? I think, see, in computers, the firewall prevents communication and it allows communication. So in religion, it's really set up for you to be able to move in a positive manner as frequent as possible. This is why the Muslims say, hey, pray 5 times a day. Because going through this world, you're going to need to be able to tap into a higher frequency more often than none. By the time you get back into you took a little break to go pray, right? You get back in your taxi to go drive the rest of your shift, and all of a sudden the new passenger comes in and just starts cursing you. Oh my God. You want to curse back so bad. You want to get out and just whip this person's ass so bad, but you don't. Because you have a reserve of positivity in you. It's only going to last so long. So you need to go back now and like I just seen, I think it was either Mobile. He said every time I meditate, I'm meditating to release that negativity, because it's not reality to think that you don't have the ability to be negative. Of course you have the ability to be negative. You're working to keep a balance or be more positive than you are negative. It's the delusional people that walk around that act like they're never negative and they can't be negative. Those are the people I don't trust at all. I don't think they're being real with you, and I don't think they're being real with themselves. So again, like Jesus said, he who without sin cast the first stone. How could I can't judge you. Unless you out here playing with kids. I'm going to judge you and I'm going to report you. And if I don't try to kill you. So it may not have to go to that extreme when I talk about negativity. But let's just say something else that's not that extreme. You know, you can dress the dress. You could dress in a Mormon blouse and a nice dress below the knees, and you can act very conservative. It doesn't mean that you're not looking at how big another dude's crotch is, Miss Lady, right? Wishing he was piping you down. It doesn't mean none of that. Is that evil? It's not evil at all. Are you married? You could be. You understand? So it's more about knowing who you are, saying, yo, I don't know if I want to be that type of person. All right, let me work on that realistically. And that you don't have to share that with everybody either. You understand? That could be something for you to know and you to know alone. You feel me out? Original man, priest of the gods and the earth. Hold on, let's get back to it.
Veneer of who you could potentially be. And again, you know, you have people like what's his name? Cole. Can't remember his first name. He comes out of the Netherlands. He's telling these very esoteric, you know, Oprah discovered this man sounded very much like what I was into. So there are times in which people discover these fundamental truths that liberate them, like the movie The Matrix. When you realize that you are in a matrix, when you realize you are in a dream, that's when you have the potential to awaken.
Well, and culture is cult, right? I mean, that's the whole point. We're all
That's
in
right.
a cult.
Exactly.
And then making it, and you don't realize, I actually had the opportunity to be in like a sport cult, you know, like hockey
yeah.
in Minnesota is so over the top. And when
Surfing.
yeah, and almost everybody should be in one of those, and then you can or just experience it, and then you can see patterns in your own culture and everywhere, and that's what you're talking about, and having the realization that your culture, everything you're surrounded with, is a cult or something. But it's healthy to have a healthy culture, right? I mean, you want to be part of something that's healthy. Or that is a culture. I mean, it's okay.
Well, here's the thing. The idea of a cult itself has taken on a very negative connotation over the years, especially in our modern day for the last 50 or 75 years. You know, I live in Oregon, and so we had the Maharishi that came up here with all of his Rolls Royces, and he had this ground of his worshipers would come to up in Antelope, Oregon. He was a rapist and he was a maniac, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the idea of a culture is a bad thing, because Christians are part of a culture and Jews are part of a culture.
Yeah, I mean, Christianity is a cult. Jewish is it is a cult.
All of it is, but as I'm learning, I cannot talk about it. They don't like when I talk about it. You understand? I think I got it out of my system. I said all I'm going to say on it. But with the new channel, I don't feel like I need to discuss it anymore. We've ran through 3 channels so far. That I get it. People don't want to hear about it. And I said it already. I don't have to. I've said it 999 times. I don't think it's going to make a bigger difference if I say it 1,000 times. No, they heard me. They heard me quite well. They just didn't want to hear it, period. So we move on, and they can act like I didn't say it. I'm just going to stop talking about it. But I know that they know that I know that they heard me.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that all of that is bad.
And America is a cult. We have a venerated leader. That's basically what it means. You look up to a venerated leader, and that person sort of leads the way for the culture.
But
that's
you
really
have
what
to
it
make
means.
right. You have to make a decision on specific things and realize that you're not. Once you're in a cult, if you're blindly following what's happening, that's where the danger is. Right.
Well, that is absolutely true, and this is why, like for example, Charles Manson had a little cult, right? And he trained those people. He set them up with drugs, and he was able to penetrate, because they didn't have a firewall for their mind. They wanted to be loved, and they wanted to worship something, and then they wanted to worship somebody. And so Manson got them to do all these crazy things, and he took his cues from all kinds of weird ideas, including music and the devil himself, right? And so the idea is that we're subject to one of these two forces that we exist in between. And
but also, Manson was part of the MK Ultra program. What book? I got a book on that. Hold on. I'll get it for you right now. It should be in my library. You know, I had over 300 books in my Audible library, and now for some reason I have 200 and change. And I don't know what I don't know what Audible did. I've been, I'm just tired of arguing, bro. I'll let this continue to play. Audible is frozen. I'll get the book for you.
Dark energy. I mean, you can even think of that there's
Right.
two polarizing, from a science, there's two polarizing energies that are,
That's right.
yeah.
Positive and negative, right? Scientifically speaking. And we exist between those two. And again, William Prescott, a philosopher from the 1800s, says without him.
Chaos is the book by Tom O'Neill. It's called Chaos. And that book there is it gives the history of Charles Manson's and working with the CIA. Chaos.
You have no claim to virtue. Well, the virtue signalers of our world don't even understand the concept of dealing properly with temptation, because they think temptation is the be all and the end all of everything. The virtue signaling crowd, you know.
I know. It's
So-
great. Well, courage is the same way. You're not
That's true.
courageous unless you know what the consequences are of doing this thing.
That is absolutely right. Right.
Yeah.
So, but the idea was that I was trying to describe that what my dad discovered as a professional hypnotist, he had all
If you have not hit the like button, please figure out how to hit the like button. Tap the screen, the three dots at the top if you're on your phone. If you can, share this with someone who you think may like this type of content. Tell them to subscribe. Don't tell them anything. Just share the link. See what they do with it. You understand? Censorship is at an all-time high, so we cannot be complacent. You know, we may not be able to mobilize because we're all in different states and we're living our own lives. So in reality, we can't mobilize like that, right? However, we can still do something else, right? We can, they gave us a platform. So let's try to get the numbers up so that we at least make it an even fight, right? They got way more money and resources working to confuse the people. But I'm doing my part over here to help us understand the chaos, to understand the white noise, why it's happening, what's happening, right? So, it's not like I get a lot of donations, if any. So go ahead and share the video, and that can be your way of fighting the power, even if it's small, right? Because you're still trying to get us in one room. What's this guy? What's this guy's name? This Australian guy. I seen him go from like less than 1 million to 1 million followers on YouTube. He was doing good until he went against the pharmaceutical industry. I think they got something on him. Next thing you know, he was tied up in they had him in some type of sexual assault case, and I was just like, oh snap! All of a sudden, out of nowhere, they saying you was out here doing what with who? That's what happens. They did the same thing to Bill Cosby, right? So we learn from these things. Let's keep going.
these people coming to him, they wanted to stop overeating. The movie stars especially, they had problems with, substance abuse and smoking and all the rest of it. My dad was friends with John Wayne. So I'm just saying, they would come to him and they wanted to have a quick fix for the problems that they didn't know how to overcome. So when you give somebody a suggestion, the only way hypnosis works is that if people will relinquish their free will to the suggestion of the hypnotist.
Does it work? Like, were they able to stop smoking?
Only works until they get around the same influences and they start to slowly fade away from the stronger influence that they've given their free will over to, which
It's
was
forces
the suggestion.
again, right? It's
The forces. It's always
Yeah.
these forces that are at work. So what was revealed to him was the idea of letting go of outcomes. And this is where I get the core of what my belief system is about. Christianity informs one side of it. The other side of it is the self-regulation side of it, which there are no manuals about that other than some beatitudes and, you know, some commandments. But the self-regulation side of it is contained in a scripture, Psalm 46:10, "Be still and know that I am God." And if you just change the words a little bit, if you realize that you had a relationship with a higher power, and that higher power actually extended into this world to explain to you something very simple. Be still, don't try to figure it out, and know, and the word know is derived from the Latin, which means to be intimate with, right? To know, man knows his wife, and so on. That I, God, have your back. If you just understand that idea, you struggle 99% less, because you realize that there's something greater than you at work. And so the external influence.
I just want to chime in there and say, I do believe that the entity, whatever we call it God, but I do believe it does have your back. But I do believe there's also rules to what we call God having your back, right? Whether it's going to work or not, right? And whether it works or not doesn't mean, oh, something bad happened to me, so God doesn't have my back. Oh, someone in my family passed away, so God doesn't have my back. Oh, I was born like this, so God doesn't have my back. That's not what I'm talking about. But there's another language, and there's other things that if you follow it, you're more inclined not to end up a certain way. Now, there are things that can override that, because there's a war going on outside no man is safe from. You understand? For we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places. So, do I think that everybody in Palestine right now is evil and that's why this thing is happening to them? Do I believe that that thing that you call God doesn't exist for them? That they call God? Should they now say, I don't believe in God because we got bombed out and my son is dead? No, I'm pretty sure the emotions would want to make you say that, because that's a hurt that probably nobody, like, only if you felt it, you can explain. Like, you could say, I understand, but you won't understand having to pull your son out of rubble when he's only 2 years old because some other creatures on this planet that look like you want to forcefully take something. And you're sitting there saying, why didn't my God step in? I don't know if whether your God is real should be predicated on the ups and downs, the up and down realities of Earth. I don't know if they should be predicated on that, because there's a war going on outside. Let's continue on.
Weaken in the presence of that single idea. Calm down. Don't get upset. Don't let it get to you. I mean, have you ever heard yourself say that to yourself? Don't let this person get to you. Don't step back. Now, a lot of times people will go and take a drink or they start smoking. They try to remedy the problem with pills and people and all the rest of it. But at the same time, what if you just had an idea that was so strong that it was able to rescue you from virtually every circumstance in which you felt that you didn't have control? The other thing is this: the only thing that we can actually control is us.
That's right. That's true.
That's all it's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with it. That's an age-old concept. So if you had a tool that would help you to reframe the situation, step back for a minute. Like, if you were a producer of the movie.
Well, I'll tell you this, guys. I stopped smoking. Obviously, I'm black, so I started with Newports. Then I realized I don't have to smoke Newports, right? I thought because I was black, I literally had to, if I was going to smoke, I had to smoke Newports. Then I realized I don't have to smoke Newports. Then I realized they sell Lucy's, Marlboro Lucy's at the store. So I'm out here on Cowboys. And I loved my Cowboys. I'm not going to lie to you. But what helped me quit, bros, you guys that's trying to quit, was not trying to go cold turkey. Cold turkey did not work for your boy. I had to break it down. So I had to set a goal. It's like trying to go to the gym during the week. And you're like, yo, if I could get to the gym 3 times a week, I'm not missing these days, right? So first the thought comes, it's just an outline. Yo, I'll try to get there 3 times a week. Then it becomes like, nah, I'm not missing these days, or I'm not missing this day here, right? And it's just, that's what I did with smoking. I was just like, all right, I'm just doing 3 times a day. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once in the lunch, and then once in the afternoon. Then I cut it down to twice a day. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon. And then I just cut it down to once a day. And then I'm not going to lie, I think the most important part was trying to pick up something else. Doing something else. And I hid this a lot from my friends and family. I didn't want them to know I was smoking. So it was always a routine, too. I had to smoke, and then I had to, like, cologne and what's the other thing? There's hand sanitizer. And I was just so tired of it all. But I just say that to say I had to break mine up, man. But, I hope you guys keep pushing, man. Keep pushing. Don't give up.
And you're sitting there as the director watching each frame and each scene play out. I used to produce the Laura Ingraham show. Laura Ingraham was a and she still is a great communicator. So we would sometimes she would say something on a show that she didn't feel set the right tone, so she would go back and re-record it so that it said what she really wanted to say. Now, that was a laborious thing, but at the same time, it was great because she always made the points she wanted to make. She always got the frame on the point. She reframed it so that it made more sense, so that it flowed better. This is how life can be. But you're not actually editing. You're not actually making movies. You're not actually investing anything other than a moment of what I call real objectivity. Wait a minute, that didn't come out right. Let me say this again. You see what I'm saying? It's really quite simple.
Let's look at this. Sometimes you deal with things that are incredibly difficult, and it just is endless, and you're just like, and so how do you reconcile? For me, when that happens, I say, okay, I got to release what I'm in control of and not in control of, and then look for ways that I can be happy doing what I am doing.
Crazy. She asked
because
him
I
about
can't
the
control the
Blue
most
Brain
powerful
Project, and
organization or company in the world or one
close, and they can do it through sensory stimulation. And this is what they've already done.
coin. There is dark energy, there is light energy, and I, for one, don't want to be messed up into the darkness because it can be pretty overwhelming and ugly. So it's just an exciting time, but that fear, and I'm going to just say this one more time before we get to the Blue Brain Project again. the fear is so destructive, and that's why, like, when I want to get back to this AI comment I made, like where at Davos and stuff, they're talking about how this horrible reality of what AI can bring us to, where we have absolutely no free will, and which is true. It can get to use an example of China. That's where they're actually doing that to kids, reading their thoughts and then inflicting a punishment if they're not studying or thinking about studying that whole time.
Yo, who thought that Black Mirror was going to be so on point? I didn't watch a Black Mirror season 2 because it became too homoerotic. Like, I wasn't with none of that. Like, I didn't know what they was. I don't be trusting stuff, right? So that's the first time you could probably say I was homophobic. Oh, he's homophobic. No. Now I am, because I think you're trying to turn me into a homosexual, blood, right? There's no need for this. First of all, that's not even my culture. Like, that's not my cult. That's not what I do. I'm proud of my heterosexual stance, right? I don't need you trying to get into my subconscious by keep showing me homosexual sex scenes, thinking like, okay, we're gonna slowly turn. I don't know what you're up to is what I'm saying. I just don't trust what you're up to. Now, if someone is a natural homosexual, let them be. That's for the homosexuals, right? Don't be not trying to sneak and turn people into homosexuals. And you can say you're not trying to do that, but I don't believe you. It don't matter how well you articulate your words. I'm not going to believe you. I think you're still trying to do that. But watching the show Black Mirror, when they showed the AI and the two dudes that met in the metaverse, right? And one guy, his avatar was a guy, and the other guy, for whatever reason, he just chose a female. And then the two dudes fell in love with each other, but they knew they was two guys in real life. But when they met in the metaverse, the guy was and he was married. Nasty work. But he was a female in the metaverse, and the other guy was a guy, and it was trippy, and I was like, nah, I'm not watching this. Like, that's your first episode. I don't even want to see where you go with. I don't even want to see what else you do. But I never forgot it. As far as capabilities of AI and what can happen. Now, she mentioned in China they're reading the scans of the kids. Can we trust that they won't do that over here? Because they say they won't? No, it's private. It can't be broken into. Nonsense. You also said that these wallets can't be broken into. How many wallets have been broken into? These digital wallets. What is the purpose of having 12 passwords that you're telling me never forget? Don't forget where you put it. If some smart kid in Korea could just break into my joint, bro. I didn't, but I will tonight. City of Lost Children. I'll try. Moby says constant observation at the same time. Sprinkle this great juju all around. Let it. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, Mobile. Yeah. Exactly, Roby. Exactly. So again, people, they would rather be docile. And this is not to offend anybody that wants to talk about Bad Bunny, right? But what I'm saying is they want us on permanently on that level. So it's not that if you talk about Bad Bunny, you're an imbecile and you're not ready for these type of high conversation. Nah, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they want us at a constant low frequency. Sometimes it's just fun to be low frequency, right? Sometimes it's fun to be a little silly, a little stupid. You know, me and my daughter, we have nonsensical. We speak fluent nonsense in the house. But she was doing it a little bit too much, so I had to like bring her back, and I'm like, you can't always talk nonsense, kiddo. You gotta like snap out of it. So she's back balanced now. The chemicals was imbalanced, right? But she's a young child, so that's my job as her parent to like, okay, I don't mind you knowing how to speak slang. I do mind you not knowing how to speak the language we speak in this land to at least competitive levels, right? Because I always teach my daughter the world is going to be competition. When you after 12th grade, it's all about competition. What can you give somebody that this person can't, right? So it could come down to you guys both know how to type well. You both know how to organize well. You both know how to file well. You both follow instructions well. However, that person knows how to communicate better than you. And there it is. That's why you didn't get the job. Not because you're black. Not because you're a woman. Because you decided to speak jive talk. Jive and slang better than you spoke English. There it is. So if I don't mind you knowing how to speak jive or slang, you just better be able to speak English to that same level of articulation. That's the thing. And I'm telling her why. So she's become way better. And she understands. She understands. Yeah, exactly, guys. Exactly.
I mean, it's so destructive because part of being a child is letting your brain wander at times. I mean, leave the kid alone. The problem I have is when they're talking about fear around AI without ever coming up with ideas on how we can guide it to a better solution. That's always about fear and how bad it is without us looking at, well, how do we take this AI and use it as a tool to actually create something amazing? There's never the solutions behind it. That's when I know that it's a fear agenda.
It is. And of course, the Blue Brain Project is this pioneering initiative aimed at creating a digital reconstruction of a mouse brain, particularly the brain to enhance our relationship and understanding of the brain structure and function. So what they're trying to do is trying to find every possible way to touch areas of our internal self and see what it does. This is really what they've been doing for years. Though the CIA started doing these bizarre experiments on people with electroshock and all of the rest of it. This has been going on for decades.
MK Ultra was part of that as well.
MK Ultra, exactly. Yeah. They want to understand, and now with AI, they're actually unlocking that. But here's the danger of AI is that it will give them access to the deepest parts of our brain, but they're never going to be able to reach the part of us that is in connection with the spirit of our Creator.
That's right.
That's the one thing they won't be. I have faith they won't be able to do that part there, right? They can tamper around with the skin and the genes and right? Because those are things that while you're down here on Earth, we have to be in this suit, and That's just part of being able to live on this planet. But I can tell you right now, especially the scientists, thank God for us, they don't really have a lot of faith in the soul. They don't understand what the vital life force is. They understand that the blood moves through the veins and it carries oxygen, and they can explain all these things. They've labeled everything. They can explain the mechanics of it and how it works. But the one thing they cannot, and I don't think they're going to be able to find out anytime soon, is the explanation for vital life force. What is it? Where does it come from? Why do we have it? The soul. So that's the one thing that will remain ours if you don't sell it. You understand? Oh yeah, they're out here doing deals. I think some things can break your soul. I think some things you could do down here can break your soul. And that's why people who willingly give their soul. I'm not talking about taking. Somebody takes your soul. I'm talking about somebody willingly giving up their soul. Yeah, I'll give my soul for this. These people are highly on drugs all the time. Always trying to get intoxicated. They don't want to see no mirrors in that. They don't want to live. They can't wait for life to be over. But they don't have the audacity or the balls, the courage to take their own life. Some of them believe that they're going to go to to a hell, if they do take their own life. Damn.
They're just never going to be able to do it.
It can't
but they're going to
do
get
it.
close, and they can do it through sensory stimulation. And this is what they've already done. You have a Manchurian candidate handler. It's called your smartphone. It feeds you information. It knows what you're thinking. It's weird. One of my brothers told me he's asleep one night, and all of a sudden Siri says to him, "What did you want?" He didn't say anything. It is maybe even at that level of being able to detect certain brain activity.
That's true. It can. Well, you can. They can read your brain waves. They can react to your brain waves. That technology exists. You just use an example in China where they're doing that.
Exactly.
Okay, so knowing that this is the reality and that there's dark energy forces that have control of some of this, what do we do to combat it in a realistic way where we can live our life and be happy and create good things for the planet?
It's the only question that really matters at this point in time. I have a way of identifying what we have to do, and then I can tell you how to do it. But the idea is you must detect it so you can deflect it. If you remember, did you see the Matrix movie?
Yeah, and I gotta say that, and people will not give this guy a chance, but I know for a fact that Tom Althouse wrote a screenplay that matches that Matrix movie. There's over hundreds of duplicate things that he wrote in his screenplay that matches the final screenplay, and that guy deserves some recognition for the work he did. But anyways, keep going.
I know that there are several people who have claimed that was stolen from them. I have read many stories about this. So these two guys who are now girls, some questionable things around them.
And if somebody has hundreds of duplicates to their original screenplay, and then what goes into final, It's like, come on, guys, this guy deserves some recognition here. But anyways, bring the reason why I say the Matrix movie was so profound. People,
Yes.
this is a profound vision of where things could go.
Yes. There is a scene in there where he's leaning backward, dodging bullets. So his perception, his awakened perception allows him to see these bullets coming at him. And
Smitty was
you know
good.
that scientists have discovered something, that the way the brain processes information is that time slows down.
Got Flatbush Smitty in the building. Shout it out. Salute my brother for the 2026.
At a certain point when you're observing something. Time literally in the brain, not in actual time, but in the brain, it slows down. When you're on a roller coaster, or there are times when you have a car accident, everything happens in slow motion. If you are subjective, in a subjective state when that's happening, then you are being like, silly putty. Remember silly putty? You're taking an impression from something else. It's impressing itself on you. But if you're in an objective state, meaning it's the opposite of the subjective state, which is that you are being the effect of a cause, in the objective state, you are separated into this other potential realm, which I described when I was a child. I was in a timeless place.
Listen, y'all. Her name is Sarah Westall. If you want to listen to the entire episode of the Blue Brain Project, intuition and everything that she got going on over there, that's her name. You can just look her up. She's gonna come. Her Spotify will come up. I'm coming out with a jazz, funk, R&B, gospel album. So some of the songs that you hear when I play the songs in the opening and the endings, they're from my new album, right? I wanted to play some tracks. Let's play this one right here. I can't always remember what they sound like, but let's see. By the way, I'm closing the show down. All right, thank you for rocking out with your boy. I can't tell you when I'll be back. You understand? But we had a good time. We had a good conversation tonight. But I want to go in there and kiss my baby goodnight before she goes to sleep. You understand? Go enjoy the fam a little bit. So I do appreciate y'all. We enjoy these tunes as we get up out of here. last one. This is called Flowers for Adults in Love. Flowers for Adults in Love. Drop it around somewhere around June. I got like 20 tracks on it. Y'all, that's it. I'll let y'all know when the album coming out, though. Y'all will know when the album is coming out. Peace out.